this to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with roll call. Kelly?
Here.
Guy?
Here.
Ken?
Here.
Nate? Here. And Jeff is here, so we have quorum. Do we have public comment? All right, we are going to move the new business A up to the top so that these kids can get to practice. So we'll go ahead and start with new business A, possible action on Trap Nationals.
All right, what do you guys want to know? So, I am here to ask permission to take the team out to the national tournament in Mason, Michigan. That will be in July, and the dates will be from July 9th through the 12th.
Tell us about transportation.
We'll take cars.
Okay.
It'll all be personal vehicles,
Okay.
because everybody wants to go along and wants the team participate, so they want to see everybody compete. So all the parents, we got grandparents, a lot of family coming along to watch it.
Okay. And funding, is it covered by the club, hotels, things like that?
Yeah, all of our costs, the hotels, everybody covered them on their own. The costs to get into the tournaments and stuff were all covered through our sponsors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything you want to highlight on how you got qualified?
Sure, well, we can start with the beginning of the season. So this year, we have 20 on our team, which is our biggest team we've had so far in our spring league. That moved us up to a higher conference. Of those 20, 9 of those were new shooters this year, so it was like it was a lot for those guys to take on in one season. But they did a great job. So as the year went on, we started off really well, and then we had some bad weather in between that kind of took us down a couple notches. But in the last week, they performed excellent. And so we got one trophy over here, if you want to grab it, JJ. That's our first place conference trophy. So that's kind of cool. That's only the second one we've won now doing this. I'm sorry, right away, Russ. So that was really amazing for this team to accomplish that. And then from there, they just kind of took that momentum and everything they've been working on to go to the state tournament. And this group over here, these guys have been working for quite a few years, trying to be perfect at this game, right? And this year they got up there and they accomplished something amazing. They took second place in state. And that is, so second place in state, that is out of 90 teams from around the state. And Gage here, you've got your award. Gage, he's got a collection of stuff. Yeah, the guy's got a collection. Gage came in third overall in the state out of 1,160 shooters. He's also our rookie Top Gun. He's got lots of awards there. But the amazing thing of Gage's run at state, he shot 99 straight. Gage, which bird we miss?
The first one.
If you're going to miss one, I guess that's the one to miss. So that was very impressive. So these guys, and to take second, just to know how close they were 3 targets out of first place. And that is just amazing. So now the plan is to take these guys right here, these 5 guys, and I'll introduce them to you right now. So we'll start off with our 8th grader, soon to be freshman here at Fall River, JJ Murfeld. We've got our freshman, soon to be sophomore here at Fall River, Gage Jones. We've got our juniors, going to be seniors here, Matthew Salzman and Drew Trotter. And this last weekend, I got to tell you about Drew. Drew went out and shot his first 100 straight. He kept on shooting until he got 123 out of 125. Amazing run. And then our senior, graduate, Hunter Hertzberg. Hunter's been with the program now for 7 seasons, yeah. And really has been our team leader. He was our top gun for the last 2 years. He took first place overall in conference this year. So I hope that we go out to nationals and do them proud. So that's our team. These are our coaches. This is Coach Russ Hoff, Coach Zach Mickelson. A couple coaches back here. We've got Coach McKenna Parr, Morgan Jones, and Joe Parr. And Zach and McKenna, they were former teammates. They've come back to help us coach. McKenna is shooting trap at college right now, so. So we're gonna go out there, do nationals. It's 3 days, so we qualified as a team, and these guys all qualified as individuals. In order to do that, there's 55,000 target athletes in the league right now. The top 3,000 qualify to get in. So these guys all qualify both as individuals and as a team. So the team will shoot on Friday, and that's 240 teams that have to shoot in the qualifier. And then the individuals will shoot on Saturday, and that's 1,600 kids that will participate in that one, in that qualifier. Championship round is on Sunday. Sunday will be, the morning will be 80 teams that will shoot for the national championship. And then at afternoon, 400 kids will shoot for the individual national championship, so. And that's kind of our goal, right? Set some big goals this year. Last year we were there and we just came so close in both individual and teams of qualifying. So these guys know what they have to do this year.
Another outstanding aspect of this program is the kids can also qualify for college grants. McKenna here was able to draw the attention of several college coaches, and they were able to sign her at Missouri Valley. And she's currently under a grant coaching there, not coaching, but shooting there and going to college. She's in her second year now, just finished her second year.
It's like, I got a shooting scholarship for $10,000 for 4 years, and then I got an academic scholarship for $6,500 for all 4 years as well. So I pay half as what for what I pay for out of pocket.
Very cool. All right, any questions for Mark or the team? Good luck.
Oh, yeah, good luck. Gage at Grandpa Dennis, he'd be pretty proud, huh? Son of a gun, he'd be down at the mill right now. There'd be a lot of bets. There'd be a lot of money switching hands.
We say that all the time. This is so much fun having Gage and Morgan.
Yes, absolutely. That's
He would
pretty
love it.
awesome. Yeah, great job, guys.
So, thank you for, backing us and helping us do this. And
Grandpa Dennis,
we can say thank you to all of our sponsors, the guys who are making big donations to help us do this. I mean, we can't do it without you. So that's how these guys can keep participating in the sport they love.
Awesome.
Well, keep it
Cool.
going.
All right,
Absolutely fantastic.
Break a leg.
we'll come back and
Well, I will go ahead and take a motion to approve the trap national trip.
I'll make the motion to approve the national trap.
Motion by Nate, do I have a second?
I'll second it, Jeff.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, thank you. All right, we will move back up to Celebrate Fall River.
All right, I'm here to share a little bit with you about the Pep Band Summer Tour. We've got 9 stops this summer. We've already hit our first one, Savannah Oaks Farmers Market. We added 2 stops this year, Paisley Palace Cornhole Tournament and the Doylestown Fireman Picnic, which I just found out is the wrong date, so don't look at that one. It's 1 day later, August 9th. Mr. Sector just informed me 1 hour ago. Not enough time. I'll talk a little about almost all of these organizations or whoever invites us out to go here, they all support us in some way, shape, or form. At the farmers market, we were able to do a brat fry. The band parents ran a brat fry during the band playing from 5 to 7. We drew a nice crowd. I saw several of the people here there. I didn't get a chance to take many pictures. That's why 2 of them kind of look the same. This one was special to me though because that's a senior singing with a 6th grader. So pretty unique. We play some hard music. but it's also pretty unique that we have a lot of middle schoolers and all the way down to 6th grade singing with a 12th grader. I thought that was pretty neat. Our broad fry did way better than we expected it to do. Over $1,000 was made, over $160 just in donations. So we were able to get some new drums, drum heads for our drum sets. So you can see here a comparison. That's an old drum. That one was beat on by Grant Osterhaus, so it's taken quite a beating, and this is what the new one looked like. Those are the new drum heads over there, and that's what the bass drum looked like before Mr. Seichter helped me dress it up a little bit. On top of that, the other money that we make over the summer that goes into the band program helps us with trips as well. I had a preliminary meeting on Monday, so I don't have much to say about this now, but I wanted to share with you all that there's a good chance you'll see the band at Pfizer Forum this year playing pregame for a Bucks game at some point. So, don't have a lot to share about it. I don't know anything about it. I got to make a deposit, and then I can pick a day, and then we get to play for pregame. And then the way it works is they'll give me a code, and I can share that out with everybody. Anybody that wants to come along, we'll sit with the band. You can come in early and see the band play. We play just for pregame pretty early on, like sometime between 6 and 6:30 for a 7 o'clock game, and then. The nice thing about the tickets is we all can sit together wherever we choose to, wherever they put us. So, pretty neat stuff. That's about all I got. Any questions? Cool. All right.
Come out and see you guys.
Saturday we'll be at the
Columbus Country.
yes, Columbus Country Club.
All right, so next up we got Ms. Kata. She is here to talk to us a little bit about a bullying prevention program she brought to us. And it's been very successful. Just wanted her to share a little bit out about that.
Alrighty, so we actually earned the district $1,500 by doing this campaign, which was pretty cool. It was offered through Children's Wisconsin, which, oops, I gotta turn this on, is an independent healthcare system dedicated to the health and well-being of children. They offer different services like social services, they do foster care placement, child advocacy, educational resources, and medical care. They also partnered with the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families to create something called Triple P Positive Parenting Program. And so that's just a resource for parents and families. It's a self-paced online course that I often recommend because we don't get a handbook for raising kids, and it's a great parenting course just to promote positive well-being in the early years. So that's a little bit about the organization. They sent an email to me earlier in the spring offering this chance to do the campaign. What it entailed was our staff did a training to learn about what bullying is and how we can prevent it at school. Students also received a classroom lesson on bullying, at least one in each classroom, and both staff and students were encouraged to fill out the feedback survey for Children's Wisconsin. And then I also distributed some resources to parents called Parents Act Now, which is information for families about bullying and what they can do as families to prevent the negative effects of bullying. So then the campaign component of the campaign, the RAC students, or that's my Random Acts of Kindness group of 4th and 5th grade student leaders, we did a few different anti-bullying campaigns. We did a lunchroom pledge table, we hung some posters around school, which you've probably seen. We wrote chalk messages outside that were promoting kindness, and we also had some social media images. And by doing all of this, we earned $1,500 for the district. So I have some pictures. This is our pledge table, just set up in the cafeteria. These posters say, like, this is a bully-free classroom, and each classroom got one. All the kids were encouraged to sign it, agreeing that they will stand up to bullying and not bully others. And then they got either a sticker, a pencil, or a little squishy star for signing it. These are our posters that we hung around school, our chalk messages, promoting positivity, sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows every day. I thought that was really cute. And then these are our social media images. So the kids had fun just having a little photo shoot and spreading kindness. This is the QR code for those parent resources, and that's also on our social media page. That's all. Any questions about the campaign?
How will you use the $1,500 that you received?
Oh,
as
good
an
question.
award?
So that was deposited into our PBIS account, which is our positive, oh my goodness, positive behavior interventions. I had it. And so I think the idea from Children's at Wisconsin is they want us to use the money to further our anti-bullying efforts, and we thought that would be a good place because that system is designed to promote positive behavior among kids, kindness and inclusion and respect. And so we use that account to pay for our monthly incentives for kids who are caught doing something good or who exemplify our character trait of the month. We also used that account for our pirate hunt this spring, which was an event to bring the community together. So it's really just to like spread positivity and inclusion and community building among the school, and I think all of that has a trickle-down effect to prevent bullying and harm. So, yeah, that's all. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it forward. I meet with Krista every couple weeks, and we sit down, and she brought this forward. And is like, hey, can I do this? I'm like, absolutely. And so she knocked it out of the park, brought us some funds for our PBIS, and impacted not only the learning of the students, but the teachers too. So that was really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks.
Any other Celebrate Forever?
Just the two. That's it.
All right, thank you. All right, well, we will move on to the consent agenda. So in our packet was both the minutes from May 20th, as well as payroll and vouchers, as we see listed on our agenda here. Does anyone have any questions about that content? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Ken, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Kelly. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, moving on to the treasurer's report.
You got the same normal sheets that you have in your packet. They tell the same story that we've been talking about for the last 2 months. So I wanted to do this instead to share with you kind of our financial situation.
Thank you.
Where some money's been going and kind of some more planning for where it might go. So the top sheet is the schedule of what we had for the operational referendum, what money has been spent on. The far left side is where it says this is the amount of money to cover the deficit. So for instance, in the 24-25 school year, if we did not have the operating referendum, we would have a $365,000 deficit. So we had to cover that, and then we wanted to have a cushion plus some money for fund balance. And there's the projects that we did spend that year. So we spent a total of $481,532, and we had available $485,000, so pretty much on target. This school year, you can see all the projects that were done, anything in red is done, and we were pretty close to the same thing on target, about $6,000 or $7,000 less than expected. So going forward now, we spent a lot of time as a group looking through these numbers for 26-27. We have a stage curtain that is going to be ordered as of July 1, I believe, the board's already approved. The bathrooms and the cabinets are things to be determined, when exactly they might get done, if they get done with this money or capital referendum dollars, those are still yet to be decided. But out of the money that is available next year, there still is around $67,000 that's unspoken for, and that'll be a decision that will be going through the administrative team as we look through this next year, what that might be used for. It could be extra money to fund balance, it could be whatever need arises, but at least that's available. Then in the last year of the Operation Referendum, it's about $100,000 that are unspoken for. We put down property, we talked about if we had to buy that property across the street over here. If we needed a new bus, Brian's always talked about when we would need a new bus. So there are a couple pieces there where money is unspoken for at this point. And I was not gonna push any decisions of what it should be
as I'm going out the door, these guys, and you can take a look at that. But that gives you a little idea where some of the financial future situation is. And I want to give you as big a picture as I can before I walk out the door. The next sheet is our Baird model. We've had this every so often. You've got one, so here's the most updated one we've had. If you find about the second group down, the surplus deficit, in 24-25, we put $89,000 towards fund balance. When Andrew and Colleen and I went through this, and Jennifer, we think we might have about $127 surplus this year that could go to fund balance, approximately. If that does, that'll move our fund balance from 11.8% to 12.8%. And we try to schedule where we keep putting about $150,000 into fund balance if possible. You can see if that happens by the end of 27, 28, we'd be up to about a 16% fund balance. If we get that high, we're getting close to where you wouldn't have to short-term borrow. Probably not yet, but at least it'd be closer, or maybe a little bit less short-term borrowing. Then you can see what those potential deficits could be. 665, 660, 648. There's still an awful lot of unknowns. We thought the special ed reimbursement from the state was going through. It went through the legislature and almost through the legislature and the governor, and it fell apart. That would have been about $100,000 difference in those last 3 years for us. It is still possible that's coming through, just delayed a year or so. So that can make a big, big difference in those last 3 years. There's a lot of other things could happen, pupil count, many variables that are still unknown at this time. But you see at the very top, we've got what we are expecting our pupil count to be. And we try to be fairly conservative with this, but we spent a lot of time looking at the different possibilities with this. And this also has now, in the 26-27 school year, the budget that we're going to ask you to approve later on tonight. That's already factored in here. So this gives you a little idea where we might be standing, and you can see, of course, where the $850,000 referendum falls off. Any questions about any of the numbers or what this reflects or means? It's our best guess today. By fall, have another one like this, and you'll have the best guess at that time when we get the exact state aid and we get the pupil count for the fall, open enrollment for the fall.
Does open enrollment look pretty good as of right now?
Have you seen any of the?
I have not.
Yeah, it's, yeah. So last year, we had a lot of students that were coming in. I don't think right now we see that huge of an influx, but I would.
Still enough.
But still enough, and we're not losing
I think the last time I looked, we were at 10 K-12.
New ones?
10 or 11 new people coming in. That was the last report that I looked at, but that was 2 weeks ago, I think.
10 more besides the ones that were already here?
that continue to stay.
Okay.
Most of them.
Yeah, and I got an email again this morning about another one, but you said you had already contacted the mom, or you would contact the mom.
I'm going to
So I just got
contact
an
her.
email this morning about.
When you look at their open enrollment out students, all of those students are kids, aside from 2, haven't been in our building before. So they've never even been our students. So we're not necessarily losing them to another school. They may have moved into our district and stayed with the district that they were at before. So I would say we're all positive trends. We're not doing anything here that's turning anybody away.
And I've got it scheduled, and I'll do a graph, but I've got a script that I put together. I'm gonna be reaching out to all of the families that open and roll out just to get feedback. Like, what was your reasoning why? What's going on? Is there something that we could do different? You know, like, how'd you hear about the new school? If you could point to a specific reason or area our school didn't meet your expectations, what was that? And I think that, in conjunction with looking at what Dennis was able to get, and he had given me from a few years ago.
We don't want the board at the time when we did that survey last time, of why
Yeah.
people rolled in or out.
And just compare, like, you know, is it the same? Is it different? And then how do we communicate or market if we are doing some of those things, but families don't know? How can we let them know that, hey, we are doing this, so investigating some of that?
Gotta feel that the new athletic fields influence some people. The new CTE wing is gonna influence some people. Cannot hurt.
I
toured a family last week with an open enrolled student who will be coming, and word of mouth was the main factor that brought him to our district from another community member. It was comparing another local district to us, and came here and was like, "Yep, coming here."
When you're looking at the enroll out, like exit interviews, are you also looking at folks who are like opting to do, what is this give me, stay at home learning? Yeah,
So they did virtual or homeschool.
yes,
Online-
homeschool,
online
thank you.
learning.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, not just open and roll out.
Okay.
I think I was on the board the last time we had the one, and I think that, what Jennifer said was that, or Maria, I think you said, a lot of them, the ones that wrote back said, we never were in your school and we're not coming to your school. You know, that was basically the end of it, you know, that they just weren't gonna come here.
Right.
I'm good, yep. Alright, then I will take, I guess, any other questions for Dennis? I will take a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
I'll motion to accept.
Alright, we have a motion by Kelly, do I have a second?
I'll second Jeff.
Seconded by Ken, all those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
One question, Dennis, was that your last one? Was that your last treasurer's report?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of laughs coming right now. And I'm not gonna run for school board either.
Or something every time it was a last. Pew.
Alright, we'll move on to gifts and donations.
All right, quite a few here today, which is great. We spoke about the greenhouse earlier, so there's some more grants that came in for that from Organic Valley, Alliant Energy Foundation, and the Wisconsin FFA Foundation. We had a CNC router donation from a Fab Lab grant. Skills USA state donations came from, I have no idea how to say that one, Alcivia, Badger Pallet, Fall River Foundry, EK Machine, and B&M Trucking. Some T-ball and coach pitch donations from Elke Construction and D&K Foods. I don't know too much about this one. Kelly Williamson Company Educational Alliance Program from ExxonMobil. Do you guys know anything more about that one? Okay, that's one that kind of came in and we had a question of what it was for. And then some trap team donations from Columbia County Sporting Alliance, and Jersey Mike's donated a meal for track team for the sectionals, so.
Alright, always great to see so many donations. We'll move on to committee reports, so we'll start with a building and grounds, and I guess technically finance committee as well. Do you want me to give this one?
Yeah, sure, if you want, yeah, that's fine.
And I'll keep this one pretty quick, just because the three main topics that we talked about were all three on the agenda here in C, D, and E. And so there is a potential greenhouse donation made by the CTE supporters group. And really it was kind of the talk about the location, the financial commitment, some of the logistics of that. Good discussion overall, and obviously blessed to have a potential donation of that size. We just want to make sure that the district knows all the details of what that would entail. Then we talked about upper office upgrades, and so as we are losing an office to the new secure entrance, we need to do some, I guess, some changes, or there's the potential to do some changes in the upper office, both to address seating, but also to address some fire safety concerns in the current situation. If we do occupy, previous rooms and kind of turn them into offices. And then the addition of classroom furniture, so the team did an assessment of all the desks within the school to understand which ones could be replaced. And so the idea is, where can we use existing money from the referendums that had already been allocated towards furniture to basically go above or beyond the scope of the original project, but keep it within that fund and kind of take it away from Fund 10. So all three of those will be decision points, but that was the primary update from Building and Grounds, and we did take a slight tour of that upper office just to kind of see how everything would look. I think everyone was there, but any questions? So, all right, we'll move on to then a policy committee update.
Well, we went over a lot of policy last night. I would encourage everybody on the board that wasn't there to at least take a gander at it, because there's a lot of, I think it's more or less communication through the school app now, instead of just your
Or through the
personal,
district email.
personal stuff. Like I say, I would encourage everybody to look at it. It's nothing that common sense won't prevail with, but you should just at least take a look at it. I think there's actually a school board. There's a section right for a school board.
And what, based upon Act 57, which was passed in December, Act 89, that was passed in March by the Wisconsin legislature and signed. It restricts a lot of the communication that we can have to try to alleviate any sense of fear of or anything leading up to the grooming of students. And so really how we communicate and making sure that we're using district-approved platforms is the biggest piece. But, I mean, you said it perfectly, Guy. It's common sense, being smart and using what you can, or what you should.
The scope of the state statutes was very narrow, so there was not.
There's not a lot to give on it.
There's not, like, you could do a carve-out and allow an X situation, like the statute's
I
very
think as
clear.
long as you went through the school apps, the school would back you 100% with whatever would come about. But if you used your own personal stuff and did not use the school app, then you're kind of on your own if it something comes about.
And it has to do with archiving, and, you can delete texts and social media posts very easily, but when you're communicating through the apps that we have, they're backed up and we have them.
So that's gonna be for coaches, teachers.
Everybody, volunteers,
Even
there's
volunteers.
a policy for anybody. And we are gonna be offering during our in-service, training, where we're gonna go over the policy. The Department of Public Instruction is putting out training, a mandatory training. So that was another piece of the policy, is anybody who works in the school has to do this training on a yearly basis if you're working with children. So this first time around, when we roll it out, we've carved out, I think, 15, 20 minutes, something like that, of our in-service, where the three of us are gonna go through the policy we're inviting everyone, food service, coaches, bus
Substitute
drivers,
teachers.
substitute teachers, whomever, to be able to listen and ask questions, but that training will be mandatory for people that are interacting with our students.
And volunteers even, like, includes, like, chaperones and stuff, I think, too, so, like, they talked about.
Yeah, Andrea had a really good idea.
Putting a call out of it, or like when you sign up to be a volunteer, of like getting a review of the policy, so you understand the scope too.
If somebody doesn't follow the scope, is there, what are the
They're on
rules?
their own for legal mitigation then. I mean, there's not much that we can do. The law is very explicit in all of the requirements, from how we have to report any allegations by 5 o'clock that same business day. I mean, it's explicit.
So does this go for practices, this goes for everything? Okay, but we don't have a policy set up that if you're not using the app and a parent has a problem with the coach texting a person on their cell phone.
Then they need to report it to the building administrator, who then will report it to the Title IX coordinator, who then will do their investigation and report it back to the building administrator, who then will bring it to the district administrator.
But
There's
no,
like a whole protocol.
But there's no like 3 strikes and you're out kind of thing set up right now?
We have not talked about, what would you say, disciplinary actions against staff members who do not follow it. But the law is very explicit.
It's something worth glance
There
at it.
are loopholes though too, and I know I brought this up at the first reading, so Act 57, we had already done the first and second reading of those policies. And then when Act 89 came out, we pulled the Act 57 policies out because they conjoined a lot of them, the ideas behind them were the same for both acts within the policies. But there are sections in there that protect relationships that you would have with students outside of the school setting. So if you're a neighbor with a kid who mows your yard, or if you have a student babysitting for you, there are those protections that are in there for those communications, but it's unfortunately a very gray, interpretive area, and so we are going to do our best to educate every person who works with our students about when we can and cannot protect them, should they not decide to communicate with students through our school-approved platforms and email.
I think it sounds a lot worse than what.
It does.
If you read it, I don't wanna make a mountain out of a molehill. but,
Correct.
You know, it's, just glance at it. I think you'll get a gist of it if you just glance at it.
And if you do look at it with the corrections in your packet, you'll see, like Guy said, we didn't have a lot of wiggle room in our choices. A lot of times with the Neola policies, we'll be able to pick what we want to put in there because the legislation is so stringent, there's not a lot of options.
And a little bit to Nate's point, because I forgot to ask this, is there like an update going out to parents also that like to understand the policy so that, you know, if a parent's trying to text a coach about a concern and the coach isn't
Well,
responding,
and there's
it's not
nothing
the-
in the policy that talks specifically about the adults communicating with each other. It's the children when they're communicating. The adults, it's just whether or not it's appropriate and are you, really you should be contacting if you have, if someone has an issue with me as, a little league coach, that's different than if they have an issue or a question for me as a friend. So just making sure that we are encouraging our parents to communicate with staff via school-sponsored or school-approved platforms, because again, then you have that record when we have open records requests and things like that.
I look forward to reading that over the weekend.
Just a comment about, those who worked on the policy committee, this is the Neola, and it's a wonderful system to help us keep our policies. And we switched back to this about 4 years ago, maybe, because at one time, we had Neola, and someone decided to go away from it and kind of just do it ourselves. And when I got here, and Ryan is of course laughing,
My first year was when we
that's when
were
we were putting it
finishing
back together, when Jennifer started with us, to go back this direction. And the board at that time said, we need to always keep this. And if you ever get a new board member, they've got to know how valuable this is, so we never get rid of this again, because that was a lot of work to recreate it again. We'd be hard pressed to do this ourselves, so it's worth the money.
And to keep up with it,
Yes.
because there's so much change, constant change with policy.
A lot of the changes pertain to small schools like Fall River and stuff like that, but a lot
Right.
of the changes come from bigger schools where they have a lot more problems. I shouldn't say a lot more problems, just a lot.
Falls is a pretty small school.
The more,
There's opportunity for more things. to
Yeah.
happen.
happen, so I mean, it's just, and like I say, when I sat through quite a few of these policy meetings, and for the most part, they really are into it to protect the school.
Yes.
I mean,
And our teachers,
Yeah,
really,
yeah.
truly, the staff and the
school.
students.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense when you sit through these things and really break them down.
All right, well then, thank you for the policy committee update, and we do have that later on the agenda as well, so let's move on to the referendum report.
First thing I want to share with you is when our meeting's done today, Brian Anderson is stuck around. He'd like to show you what's been going on in the building, part of the referendum, the remodeling, the new building. So if you're able to stick around after, we'd like to have you come and walk through and see the progress. It'd be good for you to see, because people, I'm sure, would want to ask somebody, well, what's it look like? But then you could share what you're seeing and what the projects look like. There's two sheets on the referendum. The first one is the soft costs. Colleen's been keeping track of this, and Findorf really doesn't track this much anymore, except to tell us, this is a change, you're gonna need this money for this, those kind of things they show us. So the A&E fee, it shows we've spent $412,000, and of course, originally, the budget was a certain percentage of the project. They just had it in there, and there says $196,000 has not been spent yet. There could be some more out of this, but I can't imagine a huge amount. I mean, if we do the greenhouse and they gotta do some design to get that up, there may be some cost, but I think we'll probably have a good share of that left over. Abatement, I bet that all gets spent. Furniture gets spent. The furniture design, we went over just a little bit. The FFE equipment, that's all the shop equipment, the art equipment, and all the things that go into those new spaces. That $219,000 that's left, that is spoken for. The survey went a little over, the geotech a little under. No impact utility fees have been spent yet, so we may have some money left in those two spots also. The insurance or technology, that's all spoken for. Insurance builder's risk, we changed this number to match close to what the budget actually is going to be. Legal fees, we're hoping not to have a lot of other legal fees, but we still have a little left there. Moving, if we need more help getting back in the building, the only thing that's been spent so far is we paid some extra workers to help get stuff out so Findorf could get going immediately once school ended. So we had a big crew here.
It was a fun day.
Yeah, you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So we had a whole bunch of people here helping get stuff out quickly, because we're trying not to be the reason that it slows down. We aren't going to be why Findorf couldn't get into a room and get going. Finishing room upgrade, that's the what was approved last month. Miscellaneous and surplus, there's a couple things that dropped off. Findorf has, okay, that's not going to be a factor anymore. We didn't have any place specific to put it. Some of that money went to the finished room upgrade, and there's $77,000, $76,000 that's unspoken for yet. Just don't have a purpose for it, but we want to keep it separate from what the contingency money is. You see the pool roof, that's $70,000 is the cost, and how much has been spent, how much left. So we've got like a down payment and paid on it. There's been some project adjustments that this money used to be in contingency, and now it's actually spoken for. There's still $113,000 of contingency money left. And the GMP cost savings, when they did the final, from the bids to the actual, they were able to save us another $21,000 or $22,000. So there are some different chunks of there that are money that will still be available to us, or unspoken for, but could be used for whatever the need happens to rise. But that's the soft cost that we've been taking care of. The next sheet is the large one for all the different render, more of us totals. The top part's all the operational. Things in red are completely done. Black is to be done soon, hopefully. Then you got the elementary wing, and we started some progress on that. Hope we get to see some of the work being done there tonight. Generator, that's still up in the air. The pool is done. The door system, it's coming under what we budgeted, but not done, of course. There were some bugs in the system. I think Jake and the GAPA people are starting to get it figured out.
Yep, we got an update today, and I think we are gonna be rolling here.
Good, because there were some questions how effective it was going to be, but so far, so good. So the CTE addition, the 8.7 million is what we had. The Findorf portion was 7.255, our soft cost is 1.75. Their bid came in $239,000 under what we had allocated for the addition. So to start off, the addition is costing $239,000 less than we expected it to cost. That's right now unspoken for dollars. That's extra dollars at this point. What we have spent so far to Findorf is $2.977 million. That's how much we've paid them to pay for their materials and to pay our subcontractors to make sure they get paid also. So the only highlighted number is the only number that's really different than last time, but one last good look at this. Jennifer, Andrea, Colleen, and I spent a lot of time going through a lot of different numbers that we spent late last week going through every little detail we could think about, so that I think they have a pretty good, clear picture of what's going on and what monies are designated where. So I think they're prepared and ready to go. tell them, I'm trying to give you as many numbers as I can before I leave.
And just confirm, so you said the, furniture is eaten up, or it's spoken for, that remaining 92, but things like the utility technology fee, the A&E fee,
Yep, there's some of those that,
will likely.
right now, we have no money spoken for in those areas. There may come someday, some of those, but like the A&E fee, I can't imagine even half of that getting spent.
Okay. And then we still have the full contingency, the full GMP cost savings, and
Yep.
all of that is, the 239 is incremental to that.
Yes, beyond that.
So if I would add, I'd say we're at least 500 under.
And then there's also Findorf's contingency money. They got like 330,000, I think it is. They,
And Scott did say today in our meeting that we're almost to the point where they're gonna release some more of that contingency to us. We're not, there's a couple more things he wants to get through. Do you remember what he said, like, the early July, I think, if I remember correctly, is when he was guesstimating that we would have some more of that contingency money released to us.
so there is a fairly good chunk of unspoken for dollars.
Yep. Any other questions for the referendum report? All right, well, with that, I don't need a motion for that. All right, so then we will move on to new business, and we'll go right to the athletic code of conduct.
Yeah, so you guys should have a copy of the Co-Curricular Handbook. Abby and I went through this together. She wasn't able to be here tonight, so I'm gonna give you my take on the changes that we made. On that second page, page number 2, you can see we kind of redid the mission statement because it was very athletic focused, but this is a co-curricular handbook and it doesn't only affect students who participate in athletics. There is a lot of other activities that fall underneath the handbook. So we wanted a more encompassing mission statement. And the other thing we wanted to include was something to promote positive sportsmanship and leadership. Sportsmanship being a loose term, not only used in sports, but in all those other leadership opportunities that kids participate in. And so Abby added that the Pirates Way as a kind of a launching point for something we're gonna undertake this year, which is promotion of leadership and positive sportsmanship for not only our students, but our staff and our parents as well. So that's something we're gonna be focusing on as this next school year comes up. If you skip ahead, page 3 just have some minor changes. Page 4, the things that you're seeing edited there, this is to have consistent language with our practice, our coaches' handbooks, and then this co-curricular handbook. So typically, coaches will have a handbook that they give to parents. And it's always going to be, students talk to their coach first, and then if that doesn't work, what is that chain of command? Well, now we're aligning this handbook, coaches' handbooks, and our current practice to all be consistent and the same. So that's that change you're seeing right there. And then on page 5, it is again looking for consistency with our practice and both handbooks, both individual sports and activities, and then what you have in front of you. Those are the major changes that we have. As you page through, you won't see much else. You're gonna have some grammatical changes just to make things flow a little bit better. But aside from that, that's all that would be changing in the handbook. We did add hockey on page 14 as a activity, because different activities or games require different suspensions if there's a code violation. So we looked up the total number of games that are played in a hockey season. It's consistent with what basketball plays, so that's why you're seeing hockey added in by the volleyball, basketball area at 3 games for a suspension on that one. Those are the big changes on that. Questions?
On page 5, bullet point under number 3, you might need to update the principal's name.
We found that in a couple spots, yes. I will control F both of these and make sure I will just search for a name and we will update that. Thank you.
I'll just go on record, because I do every year, I still think on page 13, your Rule 3 is overly aggressive, but I think I'm the anomaly on that. I think we should teach kids to make good choices, not to run away, but that's just my point.
Very good, thank you for sharing that.
Any questions on the Co-Curricular Handbook Code of Conduct? All right, well then I will take a motion to approve the Athletic Code of Conduct.
Do we want to change the name to get rid of athletic there? Like we talked about the whole,
Oh,
right?
you mean on our
Yeah.
agenda?
Yeah.
Sorry, I
To
just
kind of
stayed
match
true.
it?
I
I
stayed
know,
true
I'm
to the
just-
agenda. I'll defer to Andrea what she wants. Do you want it to be a motion on the Co-Curricular
Yeah,
Handbook?
change the wording on that. I can maybe just put leave athletic in parentheses because that's what was on the agenda, but
Yeah.
we can also add those words as well.
I'll put a motion for Jeff to approve the co-curricular handbook.
All right, we have a motion to approve the Co-Curricular Handbook, which is under the Athletic Code of Conduct section by Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, moving on to the greenhouse.
Mr. Sycher, would you like to talk about your greenhouse?
Sure, I won't, since we talked about it at the earlier meeting, I won't get too much into depth, but CTE supporters, or Fall River CTE supporters has been doing some fundraising to add a plant science pathway to our curriculum. And they are looking for your support to donate the proceeds to put up a greenhouse that the district sees fit. Want me to go in depth in any specific parts or not, I can, but.
Yeah, I mean, we went into decent depth at the committee meeting. I think I'll just highlight that, there's a couple different locations. Part of this approval is so that we can kind of go forward and really, finalize the locations, which would then finalize the cost. One of the, the things that I would recommend is just because some of those are unknown today, my recommendation would be that the approval is that, contingent on the assumption that no incremental expense by the district, that we approve this. And then obviously if that changes, then we can talk about approving any incremental expense. But, it's amazing to have a group like this. Again, this is a six-figure donation. That's incredible that they've put in the effort to go out and get, and and our students will see the benefit for many years and a conduit into the community. So I love it. Financially conservative, so that's why I asked for the motion in that way. But any further questions or discussion? All right. Well, I will take the motion.
I'll put a motion forward to accept the donation of the greenhouse with the CTE supporters paying for it in full, and if they can't pay for it in full, we come back to it, something like that?
That sounds great.
Okay.
How much is the initial donation?
$120,000.
It's $120,000.
So
up
once
to.
again, depending on where we actually end up putting it, but it's around $100,000 to $120,000 is initially what they're thinking. But once again, it just depends on which piece of property we use.
So I have a
I
motion.
would use the term $120,000. When we had our discussion tonight, I think we all felt that that was where we were gonna kinda end up, so.
That's it's in writing.
Yeah.
All right, I have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
Second the motion.
I believe a second by Kelly. All those, any further discussion? All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Thank you, Mr. Sykert and the CTE. We will move on to the upper office project.
So one of the things that we talked about tonight at the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting was the need not only for operation but for safety of the people up in the office to create or put in a door that is currently, or in the area that is currently a copy room, so that that could be turned into an office for our administrative assistant. And then additionally, we would like to request your permission to make a purchase for the furniture for that upper office with the creation of the new office, in lieu of having that out of our operational budget or Fund 10, to be able to pull it out of the remaining funds in our capital referendum. Based upon our figures, we have money in there allocated for furniture, and there's also additional funds that would be able to cover that.
And just to recap my understanding, so my understanding is it's the 23.9 rounded for the physical construction cost, and then an additional 12 for the furniture within those, and so that brings me to 36. And so if we go back to Dennis's original referendum report, as we talked about, you know, whether it's the contingency fee, some of those A&E fees, some of those things that would, so there's, you know, ballpark 200 of excess or savings in the one, and then 240 in the other. And so that's really what would be used to fund this 36, and then the next piece that's on the agenda.
Is 36 the right number? Wasn't there 13,000 in desks alone?
Right, so we put them, we didn't want to put them in the same category, so we put them in as separate motions.
Yeah, this is just for the furniture of the offices.
Correct.
Oh, the upper
Which
office. I
we've
got you.
got 5K and 7.2, and then the 23.9 is the construction, so I rounded that to 36. And then the other desks are part of the next motion.
And both of those are coming out of capital? Or no, out of the referendum? Yeah. capital
Correct.
referendum?
Yep.
Yeah, they would be a headwind from,
Haven't spent yet.
yeah.
Yeah, that's coming out of money we haven't spent yet.
Gotcha.
So, given that, I think much of this, I think we're losing an office, and so I do think we have to address that. I do think we have the fire safety issue, and then, you know, it's spending capital referendum money and not Fund 10. I'm supportive, but I'll open the floor for further questions or discussion. Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the upper office upgrades.
I'll make a motion to approve the upper office upgrades in the,
We have a motion by Guy. Do I have a second?
I'll second Jeff.
Seconded by Ken. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, moving on to classroom furniture.
So additionally, we had funds for the 3 classrooms that were currently being remodeled or redone. The administration and I did a walkthrough along with Brian Anderson to assess the teacher desks that are in, teacher and para desks that are in our school. During Buildings and Grounds, we provided a ranking of 1 is it needs to be replaced ASAP, whether it was the drawers were coming out or they were extremely rusted, or we had one that it's being held up by a thing of wood that's been screwed into another piece. Our teachers do a lot for us, and we found that we needed 10 or would like to request 10 to be replaced right away. There were several that we ranked as a 2 where they were good, they were okay to continue to be used. And then we had a lot more that were 3s because of the furniture donations that we have had in the past. So we would like to make a request of, in addition to the 3 teacher desks for the rooms that are being remodeled, we would like to request the purchasing of 7 additional ones. Oh, and along with the stools. So we had our middle school science stools are needing to be replaced. We were planning to pull those out of the science budget, which again is the Fund 10 operational expenses, and we are requesting to pull those out of the capital to free that money up in the operational.
To recap on prices, I think I wrote down all 10 desks is 13.5.
Yep.
And the stools 1.5, so technically 3 of those are already funded as part of that furniture budget. But that puts us roughly at 13 for this ask. Just to kind of put it, but again, same story.
15, I think, right? Yeah, cause they were, they're budgeted
not
for,
in
but they
that?
weren't in the original bid.
Okay, got it.
Are we gonna put them in there? Are we gonna put those additional desks in there then?
Into the 3 rooms?
Yeah,
Yes.
but not with this motion.
It's all one bid. They gave them to us all in one bid.
Okay.
Okay, and very similar, for the same reasons, I'm supportive of this, and honestly, some of those desks really need to go, and it keeps it out of Fund 10 spending, so. Any further questions or discussion? Alright, well then, I will ask for a motion to approve the additional classroom furniture, which is the 7 incremental desks and the, additional stools.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the additional classroom furniture with the 7 desks and the stools.
We have a motion by Kelly, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Moving on to social studies curriculum.
Right, so at the Ed Committee, was that a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
We presented some materials that we would like to purchase for our social studies curriculum. So what you have in front of you is for both, it's 2 separate things. For kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 5th. 4th grade already has a separate set. And that would include some teacher textbooks, so 2 at each grade level, teacher digital access to the teacher center, which would have tests and quizzes and activities that the teacher could use, a student inquiry journal, and then it also has a student digital version that students can access, along with 2 hours of professional development for teachers and how to utilize all of those resources that they will now have at their disposal. So that's the elementary social studies resource, and it would be through McGraw-Hill. And then we have another one for 8th and 9th grade textbooks through McGraw-Hill. And we would like to get 40 textbooks, and that would include a student digital license as well. So there'd be an online component that students could access. And we're only asking for 40 because 8th and 9th graders are going to use the same textbook, kind of the first half in 8th grade, the second half in 9th grade. So that puts 20 textbooks in each teacher's classrooms. Students don't typically check out, or they don't get textbooks at the beginning of the year and take them home. So we can kind of operate with fewer textbooks if we leave them in the classroom. If students need text or something, we can make copies, or they will have that digital access if they need to look something up while they're at home instead of in the classroom. So we're getting away with half as many textbooks by not having kids carry them around with them. And they usually stay nicer for longer too, because they're not getting thrown around and wet and trashed, different ways that, our students like to treat things. So in addition to the 40 textbooks for 8th and 9th grade, that will also include a teacher guide to an inquiry journal and some tests and quizzes, and then the teacher digital license as well. So those are the 2, they're separate, both through McGraw-Hill, but we quoted them out separately.
And for the or for the digital licenses for the textbooks, are they tied to the book or to a user? Do you need to purchase a new one for a student each year?
It will be for 5 years. So this, the first year we will have so many kids access it, and then the next year, different set of students will be able to access that digital license.
So if you purchase 40 books, you also get 40
digital licenses.
Okay. And is that enough for all the?
We may have to have some students use the same digital license. So if you're paired up, this group is going to use this digital license.
Got it.
2 things. So one, in the Baird model that you showed us, does that anticipate both of these curriculum purchase items, or would that?
Yes, it's in the model and it's in the budget that we're looking to adopt later tonight. All these purchases for curriculum are included in this.
Okay, thank you. And then, I know we didn't give a Ed committee update, but I will just kind of say for the board, right, part of kind of the new plan that was released, 2 years ago, right, was kind of an annual curriculum review. I forgot the second step, and then the third piece was kind of buying books or buying, materials.
Yep.
And the reason for that is right now, or in the past X years, we just buy things when we need them, but there's no anticipated budget, no recurring schedule. So basically what will happen is they're smoothing everything so that every year we're gonna buy materials for specific classes. And then next year, a different set of classes the year after. And then that'll go on like a 5-year rotation so that we can evaluate. It doesn't mean that we need to, right? And there was a couple that put forward and they said, hey, we don't need materials, but at least, and then we've tried to group the expensive ones with the inexpensive ones to kind of balance that off, so it's not 151 year and 25 the next year. So there has been some thoughtfulness, not only on the curriculum maps and things like that, but also the materials and how do we kind of make sure we're current, but not a bunch of unexpected costs. And so I do just appreciate the thoughtfulness of that, that started a couple years ago. But now we're to the point where we need to start buying materials.
And didn't you say like the legislation is mandating something that we have to do this? Sorry.
So,
Just budget-wise too, that'll really help us have an accurate budget for at least that part of our, the budget for curriculum, that number each year will be pretty accurate based on the plan that we have going forward.
But you gotta start somewhere, and we start this year.
Yeah, and we're actually, this is the third year of it, so year 3 is when we do our purchase.
First year of purchasing.
We've
Yep.
been doing it for a while of
Yep.
like
Yes.
reviewing our.
Doing data
curriculum.
analysis of where are the students doing well, what resources are we using, what's working, what's not working. And then last year, they spent a great deal of time. They don't let you pilot programs anymore because they don't want to send you their resources and then have you just keep them and, make copies and not do that. So, instead, we had the teachers go to different schools to be able to see, if they're using that material, then they can see how other teachers feel about it and what they think about it. So we get small samples of different pieces here and there so that they can go through them. But it's not like when I first started teaching, they'd send you, anything that you wanted to be able to preview and.
Yeah, you want a pilot for
And
6
pilot.
months, here you go, you can have it. Now they say, with a healthy number, you can do that. But it doesn't make sense to look at 2 different programs with that healthy number for both and pilot both. It really drives your cost up. So that's real site visits, and then those example materials and their online resources really come into play and help us make decisions.
all right, with that, and then of course, having had the detailed, review in education committee a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I'm supportive. We'll pause for any questions. And I will take a motion, to approve the social studies curriculum.
I'll put a motion for Jeff to accept the social studies curriculum.
We have a motion by Ken. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, we'll move on to ELA.
All right, ELA is your bigger one. It's part of an act that the legislature passed a couple years ago called Act 20. School districts are required to look at some resources for their curriculum. We looked at 3 different companies over the course of our curriculum review cycle. HMH was the one that the staff and administration felt was the strongest through our site visits and then also just through our example materials that we reviewed. This purchase would be for 5 years again. This would include our digital license for staff and students each year. It would include our teacher materials, and it would also include our student materials. Just to kind of go back a little bit briefly on the Act 20 piece, the state approved specific companies that were state-approved resources to purchase for ELA. So that's how we got to the companies that we were looking at. HMH was one of those, and that's why we're looking at version 3 with them. When you see in your, the totals, we did work a lot on peeling that back as much as possible to get to the more reasonable numbers. So we went with 19 student materials per classroom. Again, if we had a big bubble and 23 kids showed up, we could have purchased additional resources at that time. Also worked with them on shipping costs, 'cause as you know, that's where companies make some money. So I was able to also get that narrowed down and lowered also.
I was gonna offer to just fly out to, where was it, Boston?
Boston.
And pick it up and rent a car and drive it back, so she finally was like, okay, fine, I'll get you down to whatever it
Yep.
ended up being.
Like, where do I need to drive? We will do this. It is a bigger number than social studies, and I understand that, but again, this meets the state requirement. But with that being said, on the bigger number, on July 1st, there will be form I am going to be filling out to get some reimbursement back from the state. That could be up to, I believe it was 40-50% of total cost. Obviously, that's prorated amongst all the districts that put in for that reimbursement. But from what I'm hearing from CISA 5, it's been a pretty healthy amount for the ones who've gotten it to this point. So there will be some reimbursement, I anticipate.
And is there any reimbursement built into the budget today?
No. We just put it as it was, and hopefully we get some of that money back.
Be conservative with it, because you don't know what it could be.
Agree.
So if it's more, hey, that's great.
And this is the updated price, right? Because
This is the updated
Gotcha.
price, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, add that all together for me, 90X.
94.
94.5.
$94,447.82 for a 5-year contract.
6th grade levels for 5 years?
This is kindergarten through 5th grade.
6th grade levels.
Any further discussion for Mr. Verrier? Hearing none, I will take a motion to approve the purchase of the ELA curriculum.
I'll put a motion forward, Jeff, to accept the ELA curriculum.
I have a motion by Ken, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead, Kelly.
I'll second.
Seconded by Kelly, all those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, moving on to student handbook.
We're gonna have Ryan go first, this is a little bit less than mine.
Yeah, mine's a little bit less. So I just had some minor updates in mine, as you'd see. So nothing too major came up this year where I felt like I needed to make any great changes. So the notification of wholeness policy, the person in charge of that will be Mrs. Ikeda. And then obviously this, the board members and the new board member, and then all your roles. And then biggest thing was with all the movement, I had to update some of the extensions and titles for some of the folks here in the room right now. Other than that, everything else stayed the same.
Okay, so I already made a note to update the district administrator on page 4. So we'll make sure that we do that. And I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna control find all the different names to catch all of them throughout the whole thing. If we jump ahead to page 6, a couple minor things on here. We're gonna include motorized scooters. We updated our board policy to include motorized scooters. So now we're just going to do the same thing with our handbook, so our language is keeping up with the current trends of what we're seeing student usage with. And then food and beverage in the classroom, we didn't really have anything for this before, so this is getting more in line with practice and maybe combating some of the beverage and food creep that we tend to see every few years. So really encouraging kids to carry water, not all kinds of sweetened beverages all over the school, with the understanding that there's gonna be times where it's appropriate that we have different food and drink in classrooms. We're gonna leave that up to individual teachers, but as a whole, our expectation is going to be, we're gonna limit it to water, understanding that there are times when we will have other food and drink in classrooms. If I then, some of the things in there you'll see, like in the page 7, strapless shirts or dresses. We kind of updated with current trends. Nobody wears tube tops anymore. We wear strapless shirts. Maybe you do. Okay. Page 8, updating that one with our practices. So we use Infinite Campus now for passes, and we still had it like written passes in an agenda or a planner. We don't do that anymore. So updating those things. At the bottom of page 8, we took out the old cell phone and electronic device policy, and this is where the bulk of the additions have happened in the handbook in order to be updated with Act 42, which is the cell phone, what we refer to as the cell phone ban. We are going to have middle school students not use cell phones from the beginning of the day until the end of the day. They are expected to be stored in a locker and not to be removed from 7:55 until 3:25.
And that was in the policies that were approved last time.
High school students will kind of have the option. They're either going to have to keep it in their locker, or they're going to have to put it in a caddy in each classroom. So the only time that high school students will be able to use it, they can still use theirs at breakfast and lunch, and then at the direction of a teacher if it is in line with instruction. So not just, hey, we have 5 minutes at the end of class, go ahead and just sit on your phones. More like maybe each individual group is creating a video, we need to use a recording device, students can use their phones ahead, or for that activity. We put in expectations with regards to privacy, just being very explicit in where you can and cannot use a phone. Nobody should be using a phone in restrooms due to privacy. And so we have that posted a lot of places, but we included it here as well. It wasn't explicitly stated prior. If we go to page 10, then we have consequences. So this is what I gave you on that additional sheet. I had a paragraph in there, and I went through and I changed that to something that is step by step. This is what you can anticipate happening if there is a cell phone violation. We're going to keep the violations the same for middle school and high school students, with the exception that how they're going to be not implemented. What the students can do is a little bit different. So you can see first offense, it is a warning with the reteaching, and the teacher keeps it for the rest of the class period. Second offense, contacting the parents and keeping the device for the rest of the day. Third offense, confiscated and turned into the office. We will then contact the parents to come pick the phone up at the end of the day. Fourth offense, it's confiscated, turned into the office. The parents have to come and get it. And then we're going to put a student on a 2-week phone contract. A phone contract is where they turn their phone in at the beginning of the day and they pick it up at the end of the day to the office. I have done this for a few students in the past, and it was highly successful, and we didn't have any repeat offenders after they were on a phone contract. And then the fifth offense, we have that phone contract, but now for a month instead of for a 2-week time span. And then we define what phone contract is, because that's going to be something new for our parents and our students, so we want them to know ahead of time this is what it would look like if you get to that point. Dr. Treptow and I also kind of game plan how we're going to keep track of that, because that can be really difficult in making sure we don't miss anything. So we do have a plan going forward for how I'm going to make sure that we track that for each different student. And then the digital images and privacy, that's just being really consistent with our board policy and putting that in our handbook, not just leaving it in board policy. Okay, that was a lot. Questions on anything specifically for that part? No? Okay, I'm going to keep.
I got one. I know, it said in there you can't have your cell phone out in the locker room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't disagree with that. But I do know that, like, I don't know about the girls, but the boys anyway, when they got done with practice, most of them don't go in the locker room anymore. They keep it up in the gym. But now, I think there was an issue with boys.
Recording.
Well, not just after practice, they might take their gym shorts off and put their pants on right in the middle of the gym, and girls would be walking, and so now I'm pretty sure Arnie makes them take their clothes down into the locker room. But I do know that, none of them are showering or anything like that, but a lot of them do grab their cell phone and look at it, you know, and as they're heading out the thing, are we supposed to turn them in for something like that, or is it supposed to be turned in for?
The issue with the cell phones is the law explicitly states that you cannot take pictures or videos of any student within a school setting without their permission. And so where we really got tight on that was after we had an incident where a student was recording another student in a bathroom and it exploded. So the not having your phone in the bathroom is more of a preventative measure for us to help them make better choices when they're in the bathroom. Yeah,
I certainly don't,
yeah.
So you're wondering though, as a coach, do we even say, leave your phone on the bleacher before you even go down?
That's-
into the
well, I
locker room?
wouldn't say leave it on the bleach, make sure it's in your duffel bag, or
Yeah,
make sure it's
yep.
in your pocket until you get out of the
I
locker room, I
would.
guess.
I think it's best practice that we start encouraging students to be aware of that.
Is,
I know when I was teaching, I would have a phone with me and I would, check my locker rooms when students were changing for, in the locker rooms changing after swimming. After a couple things happened and you hear it in the media, I made sure I didn't have my phone anywhere on my body or even in my hand as I walked to check my locker rooms. And so it was a habit change for me, but once I got used to that habit change, it was just kind of second nature. So I think we just need to teach that habit change to
It's-
students.
is there any signs up?
We
I-
do
I-
have it
I
in
do
most.
know that by the bathrooms you have one. I
Locker
don't
rooms,
know if-
yes.
Is there one in the locker rooms
Yeah.
too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
By the pool, yep.
that's fair enough then,
Do you mean in the locker rooms in the gym?
yes. Like, is
I
there
don't
something
know.
as you're
I
going?
Check
would,
that
I'll
one.
double check that one,
As
because
you're
I know
going
we
down,
hit the pool and I
pool's
know we
covered.
hit the bathrooms. I'll double check that.
And
No,
I don't think anybody's ever gonna, they're not in there taking
don't think
pictures or
they're
anything,
going
but
to.
a lot of them just grab their phone on their way up, you know,
Yeah.
and look
Yeah.
to see what, you know, if somebody called them, or, you know,
Right.
it's.
Yeah.
It's
The
nothing.
teenage brain is a crazy thing though.
Well, yeah, I
That,
know.
I think the comfort of some other students, even not having somebody using a phone close to them,
Yeah.
makes them feel a little bit more comfortable than the what if
Yep.
when they're in the same space. So I think it's nice too, in respect for other people's space and privacy, that we aren't using them in there as
Yeah,
well.
because I do know that kids don't stray far from that phone. You know, they're not
Yeah.
gonna be far from it.
Very true.
Are there rules for, or are there consequences for teachers that allow students to have phones that don't follow the rules?
There will be.
We don't have that here in the student handbook. That would be more, I think, of our
This-
administrative guidelines,
and
and
the
how
staff.
we want to follow up with staff on that.
And we will, Andrea and I are meeting next Tuesday morning to work on the edits for the staff handbook for next year that we'll be bringing to you in July.
And I don't necessarily think it's because teachers, they just don't want the fight, right? They don't want it.
Well, I actually I shared an article, there's lots and lots of research that is happening right now with cell phone use, and Maria touched on it, Ms. Kutzler touched on it a little bit too, with the breaking of the habits, but initially the latest, and I sent it to you guys too, the latest study that was done does show that there is anxiety and that loss of focus. And don't quote me on the amount of time. I want to say it was like the first 9 months or something. Do either of you remember what the timeline
It was 9
was?
months to a year.
Yeah, 9 months to a year, where they actually noticed like increased physical signs of like that loss or that stress. But then after that first year, they actually saw all of that decrease. Their learning increased. They didn't have the data yet to show like an academic, there's so many variables with academic, increasing in scores, but I shared that with everybody because I want the teachers and administration to know that next year, we probably will start seeing some of that, and it's okay. It might be a hard year. There was an increase in discipline for the first 9 months to a year, but after that first year, you're better. So you dip and then you escalate and get better.
With the elementary policy being so different about electronics, like phones, are we setting ourselves up for increased anxiety in sixth grade every year when they go from they can have their phone at recess and am I reading this right in the elementary policy for electronic devices? So they can have it at recess and lunch and things, right? And then they get to sixth grade and they can't.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
I'm just gonna, let me go look.
I'm really sorry, page 17, that's
Thank
why I
you.
was asking.
We may have to edit that to fit with what the law says. I mean, I think the law, actually, the law doesn't say anything about recess, does it? At the educational
No, but it does
day?
touch on elementary students. So we need to check our policy in the law to make sure that it's consistent with. But you're right, that would be removing that after they've gotten used to something.
And then I feel like that would make sixth grade that much harder.
Right.
If it went more restricted, like it's like you
I
have
can
less
adjust
privileges
that,
or something,
yeah.
you know?
I see where you're looking, Kelly.
Yeah.
So yeah, my perspective, and I think this is what Nate was leading at, like, I just wanna make sure we're consistent with the teachers of enforcing it, like, I don't
Yeah.
want, whether it's, I don't want the fight, or I'm the cool teacher, or I'm whatever, like, to me, that's what makes it hard, but if every teacher consistently holds the line, I think then it's so much easier, but if you have 2 out of 8 teachers that don't, that's when you get
I
problems.
will say that I'm gonna talk about educator effectiveness here in a little bit, but I started planting some of those seeds already. Like, I noticed when I'm by your classroom, I'm seeing phones being used in this place. So consider how you plan on next year changing that, because we're not gonna be able to do it.
And it's walkthroughs of the hallways, popping into the classrooms, those
Yeah.
pieces of it.
You okay to move on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll pull, he's working on pulling that up.
Yep.
Or,
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I said, yeah, I'm updating that.
Okay.
I see where Kelly's looking.
On page 13, we updated that we no longer provide work permits. You use the DWD website, so just a small change that. We changed how absences can be sent in to include current practice, which now we have parents using the Infinite Campus Parent Portal, which is kind of nice. It cuts down on the number of phone calls or voicemails that Sue has to listen to. So that's always nice. Page 15 made a small change to the use of artificial intelligence to violate teacher expectations. Because we're trying to teach responsible use of AI. And so if we just ban all of it, then it's not going to work. So the academic dishonesty is saying if you're using AI against what the teacher has instructed you to use it for. So for example, when I taught health, we used AI to create nutrition plans. And then they would evaluate the nutrition plan based on the dietary guidelines. And did they match? Did they not? So I said, you need to use AI for this. Now, that's a little bit different than if a student just has an essay and they type in the prompt and AI provides them with an essay. That would be academic dishonesty because it wasn't in line with the expectations put forth by the teacher. So we just kind of clarified that a little bit, that there will be times when you can use AI, but it has to be in line with the classroom expectations.
And we did have a staff meeting back in March, maybe February, and the teachers will begin to include on their assessment with their rubrics and their, success criteria, whether or not this is an AI assignment. So there will be a box in there that will explicitly say, I can use this for generating ideas. I can use AI for getting or gathering information. So there's specific boxes, and they will be checked so that the kids know right from the start what their AI usage for that assessment can be or should be.
Okay, if we jump ahead to page 16, I hope that my pages didn't change. If I'm on the wrong one, shout at me.
Nope, I think you're
Consistent practice here, just student investigations. We've had some parents ask about different things, so we just made sure that this was in line with our district policy and that administrators may talk to children without parents present. And it kind of gives a little snippet as to when we would call parents and when we are going to let them know that we are either investigating or looking into an incident. So just kind of being clear with parents up front on that one. All right. I think the next one is on page 19. So participation in the graduation ceremony. So senioritis is real. And We're gonna try and combat some of that senioritis by being very upfront with our seniors about these are the expectations for attendance. We found that when you get to be a senior and you have too many absences, unexcused absences, the lunch detentions and some of the things that we're able to do are not curbing the behaviors that we are seeing in terms of poor attendance by students. Most prominently, it's excessive tardies and too many days out of the building. And so we're putting forth requirements that students need to meet in order to participate in the graduation ceremony. This is not get your high school diploma, it is participation in the ceremony at the end of the school year. And so obviously the academic requirements would be the same as graduating. You have to have all the credits that you need and you need to be passing your classes. The next one is attendance, and not to exceed 15 absences during the senior year. This, if I go to the orthodontist, I have a medical appointment, I go to the chiropractor, and you bring that note in, those things do not count against those 15 absences. Field trips, college visits, again, funerals, those don't count towards those 15 absences. And so if you go over 15 absences your senior year of high school, you don't get to participate in graduation. I looked at the gamut of this is where we had our attendance, right? And so the vast majority, I would say probably 90 to 95% of students aren't even getting close to this. But we do have a handful that continue to be absent over and over and over again, and our other forms of trying to curb that behavior are not working. And during their senior year, they are absent significantly more than they were their freshman year or their sophomore year. Then tardies, again, I looked at kind of where we were at from last year. 20 tardies for a whole year, all classes combined. So you can't have more than that. Detentions and suspensions, you need to serve your detentions, no outstanding suspensions. Fines, fees, and lunch balances all need to be paid. And then the senior class trip, you don't necessarily have to go on the class trip, but if you're not on the class trip, then we would want you here at school because that is a scheduled school day where we need to account for you whether it's on the trip or here at school. So we have a plan for how we communicate this because this is very different than what we have done before. And it's going to have to be probably over-communicated the first year or 2 years. And then I think it'll become some of the norm as to, even though I'm a senior, I still am expected to be at school on a regular basis. There is a neighboring district who does something similar to this. We kind of use theirs as a guide. Ours is not as stringent as theirs was because we also didn't want a lot of shock of this. Our first year, it's probably gonna be a little difficult for some families, and also understanding that people may have already scheduled some vacations too, because that will affect kids' ability to miss 15 days. Okay.
And can I clarify
Yeah.
the 15 days? Because in the tardies, you talked about all total class period. So it's 15 days when you say absences. So like if they're out Monday, that's they have 4 classes on Monday. Is that 4
It's one
absences? That's one. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It's calculated the same as truancy would be in terms of the days that way.
And the state calculates truancy as if you may miss any or all of a day outside of that tardy, it counts as one day.
So if I come in at 10 o'clock.
It's an absence.
Yep,
Yes.
per the state of Wisconsin.
Yes. So truancy is 10 absences, both excused and unexcused, and we thought that that was kind of small, and we were a little worried about saying 10. So we thought 15 based on, after I looked at some other kids' attendance, that seems like a very manageable number.
And parent excuse, not medical excuse.
Medical
excuse
excuse
doesn't
does not count towards that. So if I go to get my braces tightened and then I come back, it doesn't count.
And do we know ballpark how many students would not have been able to walk this year if this policy?
I think it's hard to say because if you would have known, would you have come to school? You know, so, but yeah, she's got it.
You're
She
right,
looked it
I
up.
think it's about 4 students.
How big was the graduating class?
38.
So, initial reaction, I really don't like the class trip.
Yeah.
thing, right? To me, that's different than all the
Yep.
other ones, like that's saying like if you
And
don't.
that was kind of a last minute one, it was what a neighboring district did, and so I think if everybody here is like, that one seems a little much, then I feel totally comfortable just removing that part too.
I kind of agree, I don't know that it's a fair call out. Like, what if that was a planned vacation, you know what I mean? What if, I don't know.
I feel a little bit the same. I mean, the lunch balances, like I feel like that's my parents, not me. Like
That is our current practice.
That's our current practice. If
Okay.
you have to, you have to have all of your devices returned, you have to have all of your fees paid, lunch, dues,
I would say for the most part, we've been successful with that. I mean, collecting all the fees and the lunch fines, sometimes it takes a while, but
It's a great way of collecting that money, because a lot of parents come in, here's $10, my kid's walking across the stage. They'll pay it.
And we have funds that VFW has given us that we have put aside for extenuating circumstances, hardships, to cover some of those. We've used those already in the last 2 years. No, she gave them to us last year. So, and we have money left over from what, VFW donated for that
For the
in a
very
separate account.
first one, do we have a lot of students walking that haven't passed every class?
You can't.
No,
Well, that's
no.
not true.
Well, why is it in there?
Oh, no, you go for it.
Yes,
Is
so
that's how
we
I'm reading
do,
it, right?
we had a student in particular this year who did not need a specific class to graduate. So he was occupying space and being less than favorable with his behavior because in order to meet the state requirements, he didn't need that class, but he had to be here, and so he was
He pretty much chose to not do any work because he didn't need that class to graduate.
and was a behavior nightmare. To the point where he ended up having to sit in the office during that class because he had absolutely no way of passing and could not be in there with other students.
Is that how that reads though? Required courses?
It says all required courses and have earned the minimum.
So that wouldn't fit this
So,
one.
so yeah, that, he would still be able to walk.
He would still be able to
Gotcha.
walk. Yeah.
But that's just some of the things that.
No, I get it.
so the tardies feel. First and foremost, I'm okay with this. The tardies also feels aggressive, right? There's 24 classes per week, right? And how many weeks of school? 40?
Yeah,
30?
so
What was the number on that
at
one?
first I was gonna put 30 in there, and I thought, how is that? So I pulled up our chronic offenders, and then I looked at the students, you wouldn't believe how many students don't have a single tardy all year long. And the students who have the chronic tardies, it's the same class period every single day, because they're choosing to, this is my opinion, they're choosing to be late because they don't mind the consequence that I give them. And so there has to be a little skin in the game for them because our other forms of trying to motivate them are not currently working. And it's really hard when you have a student who comes in 8 minutes late every single day. I've already started, and now every day I'm having to backtrack and reteach this student because they don't feel any sense of urgency to get to class at the start of class. So 20 to me felt like I'm running late, my locker jammed, like all those little things that happen. The vast majority of our students probably have less than 5 tardies for the entire year. It's a very small number of students who are getting 20, 30, 40 tardies.
And I think the block scheduling helps with that too.
And that was the other part of it is you only have to be on time for up to 6 things in a day. One of them being study hall, the other one being win period at the end. It's not, like if we think of the 8-period day, there's more opportunities to be tardy. 4 of our days are a block schedule. And we do have breakfast in between another one of them. So you have 13 minutes between a class. So for a student to be tardy after we've given them 13 minutes, and sometimes we're like, is breakfast too long? So I don't feel like there's a time crunch to get from one class to another.
This might be a silly question, but are tardies for study hall and win?
Yes, all of them.
Wait, the same.
Yes.
Well, and one of the things too that I was gonna talk about a little bit later, but we can talk about now is they're working to devise a system to be able to meet as a student services team, to be looking at our students who might be our chronic offenders earlier on in the year to be able to be more proactive with them and creating plans versus reactive. So not only is this getting added, but we're also putting a system in place to try to be proactive with some of our students that struggle with some of these behaviors.
Was there like early acknowledgement to kids, like? It's November, you're at 5.
That's
Oh,
exactly what we
absolutely.
talked about
Yeah,
on Monday,
yeah.
or yesterday.
I still feel like 20 is.
Cause that's my fear on the tardies, is they would have lost it before they even care about graduation.
And, I mean, we can add a disclaimer, like upon administrative approval, we could do something like, if you get to 20, and then we go a month, and you haven't had a single tardy in a month, you know what I mean, you're back in the game, because you have changed your habits, and you have shown us that you can be responsible, so maybe that's something that would be appropriate to add there.
Just something that kind of
Yep.
says, like, a
Yeah.
specific student plan can be done, because again,
With
like,
administrative approval?
I want people to be able to.
I
earn
made
their way
deals like that
across
with kids all the time, okay, I will not send this truancy out to the county if for the next 2 weeks, you are here every day.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea. Okay, all good questions. Anything else? No, I don't think the others are too much. On page 21, we updated our incomplete policy, or I shouldn't say updated, we added it. This has been our current practice, but now we're putting pen to paper. Everybody can see the time frames that you need to get the work done for the incomplete. I believe it's 2 weeks. So if an incomplete is, January 21st, grades are entered, you then have 2 weeks to follow up with that incomplete and get the work done. We experienced occasionally where when we didn't have it in writing, it would kind of linger, and we don't want it to linger because then those students tend to just continue to get more and more work to do, and it's hard for them to catch up. All right, and then the very last one on page 23, I have crossed out the course handbook because these are two things, the student handbook and the course handbook. We talk about them at very different times. We were talking about the student handbook in June, and we talk about the course handbook in approving it in December. And so to have them in one handbook, but they're approved and or looked at different times of the year, it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. Also, when we post this on the website, it's nice to have our course handbook separate because people are looking for two different things when they're searching for these. And so separating them out, I think will be really nice for one, when we have it on our website, two, when I have parents coming in and I can hand them, this is the course book and this is the handbook, and it's not together. And three, we're looking at them at different times of the year. And when I put draft on one, that's really hard when it's getting approved and then 6 months later, we're coming back to the other half. And that's all I have on that.
And then one other thing I wanted to just touch base with, in reviewing and going through our policies with the transition, I've been trying to become more cognizant of what our policies say, what we need to be doing. Our current board policy does not require board approval of the student handbooks. However, it's been our practice. So we are okay with continuing with what our practice has been. One part of the conversation that was brought up is our student handbooks have to get parent approval or receipt of, I've read this and I've seen it with our online registration. So there would be no changes that would be happening between, say, now and the end of July when we would put that out. But just to be able to possibly have the flexibility to make some of these adjustments after our discussion, like we would still bring the handbooks to you, have discussions, be able to take those back, make the changes and those kinds of things, or it's no skin off my back if we continue to just do what our practice has been, which is bringing our handbooks to you and outside of having a discussion, additionally taking a vote on the approval of them. So again, I'm okay either way. I came upon that and I wanted to bring it to your attention.
My preference is, I like to see it, I mean, this is one of the documents I read cover to cover, and I think it's one of the more important ones.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
especially changes, like to just kind of see, why are we changing, what's the rationale? So I like seeing it.
Yep. So you want to not just have the discussion on it, but also do the approval?
Correct.
Okay, we will continue with our current practice then. Unless anybody else has.
Oh, hey, since you guys said anybody else, I wasn't gonna speak up, I swear. What if you treated it like a policy and you did first reading, second reading? That way you don't have to spend 3 hours going through it.
No.
Well, I mean, that way they're still approving it, but then they.
Yeah, but no, I think it's important too to have it here and to do the discussions so that anybody that might be viewing online can hear the changes that are being made too. I, in no way, shape, or form would want to get rid of the discussion and the presentation of it in front of the full board. But I just wanted, like I said, I just wanted to point out that our policy does specifically, does pass that piece off.
Sorry, can I go all the way back to page 10 or 11, depending on numbering? I love the idea of using open campus to incentivize the right decisions. How comfortable are we on those IXL scores? Because the ones that I've seen, they're not close. You know, you get kids getting an A, and then their IXL scores are 2 years behind. Like, why are we punishing them for not being test takers? Or, you know, it's like, if that's the case, like, if you get an A in math, but your IXL score says I'm 2 years behind, like, isn't that the teachers?
No, so that's actually a really good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because we've been trying to share this information with the students themselves so that they can understand it. So one of the issues that we see with learning is that if you don't continually spiral back to some of those skills, you lose those skills, even if you can do, we'll say math. Let's say you can do trigonometry, but you don't know how to add, or I'm making this analogy up, add or subtract fractions. When you go out into the workplace, you have to still be able to add and subtract fractions. So what the purpose of IXL is to continually give students the learning and the materials that they need at an individual level, while also having the teachers continuing to push forward with the content that they have. So what we're trying to do with IXL is provide the kids with that individualized learning based upon their recommendations. And we have seen the shift. I will take full ownership. I don't think I did a fabulous job of rolling out IXL and how we use it specifically with our students. And so for the past 3 years, we've been working to shift the thinking with the students about the purpose and the reasoning behind IXL. So you might be able to do 11th grade math, but if you can't do 4th or 5th grade math, or at least show us that you can, it brings that score down and it levels it out. So our hope is to not only provide the students with that individual learning so that they're not forgetting or not remembering how to do some of those basic skills that employers are telling us and becoming frustrated with us, that we're getting these students and they can't read a ruler, or we're getting these students and they can't do basic, looking at, if he was here, he'd be all over it, being able to look at those fractions and add, subtract, and multiply fractions and do things like that. So I like to keep it because unfortunately our adolescents need external motivators and something to be able to get them to do and put the effort into that. And we have been seeing, based upon our tracker, and we can look at it, I can pull names off of it and show it to you, we have been seeing growth in those scores as we've been working to close the gap. So much so that originally to have open campus, you had to be no more than 2 grade levels behind, and we've been able to up that to a grade level behind. So the students who are understanding the purpose of it, which is to jump in, do the learning that's tailored just for me and what I need, they're getting it and understanding it versus those that don't. The other caveat is we do allow students who, if they are at grade level on their pre-ACT or ACT, we then ixnay what their IXL was for the previous, and they can have open campus. So at least then we've got 2 data points to be able to go off of while still having that incentive there. They do a baseline test about, 3 weeks at the beginning of the school year, and then we do another mid-year assessment, and then we do an end-of-year assessment.
So if they don't do well at the beginning
Yep.
of the year assessment, then they don't have the opportunity to open campus again.
No, they
until
do.
the mid-year?
Yep, so I let them.
There's 4
Yep.
different times.
Yes, 4 different times.
Yep, I work with them.
How many of the students that struggle in the IXL struggled in the class when they took it initially?
I don't know what you mean.
So
do
fractions,
their
they're
IXL
not,
scores correlate with with the grades that they're receiving in their classes?
right.
I don't have an
Yeah,
answer
right, so
for
like
that.
that, yeah, so like the IXL, I mean, I've had kids, they're
Yeah.
failing IXL, right?
Yep,
Well, if I go back and look at their grades when they actually did it, their grades weren't very good in it. So
Yes.
now, move ahead 2 years, and now we're going back to something they weren't very good at initially, and we expect them to memorize or relearn.
well, they should be going through and learning it. And we also, I mean, if just sticking with the math, we are including now interventions for our students who are struggling as well. So we now have, with our hiring of our full-time math teacher, we have a math interventionist working, our math teacher is working on interventions. We also have our English teacher doing interventions with our students. So those students that are below in their skills, they're getting that extra teaching with a certified teacher as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, now that it has, that just started.
But as luck would have it, we were looking through the IXL scores, and the juniors at the end of the year, because they know their IXL scores don't count for senior year, they have all completely tanked. So that external motivator is 100% there with them for it.
I don't disagree with that, but what you described, which is growth, and you used a lot of words, this isn't growth, this is punitive, right? Like, if you would have said,
But they
if you're,
should be in school then, working with a teacher or working on their IXL to go through the individualized lessons to be able to learn those skills that they're still struggling with.
But is that what they're doing? Can I just ask, like, and are they then in their study hall? They're doing an individual lesson with the
Greg, how did
teacher?
your study hall go with your students to get them off campus?
What do you mean?
Like when you, so we had, I'm gonna use you as an example, your kids in your study hall. So Greg worked with his study hall kids to help as many of them as he could
Yes.
get their.
I feel like at the beginning of the year, I had like 20 kids, and I harped on them and helped them with various things, and by the end of the year, it's not like.
I hate it.
So,
And the vast majority of the time where you're asking, like, when you kids work with teachers, it's during win time. Less of it is during study hall. Study hall is less structured than what win is.
I think when we moved from 2 grades below to 1 grade below, we crossed a border of now being punitive without anything of saying like, are you improving, right? Are you going from a 710 to a
Oh, no, we
750?
look at that. I have individual meetings with the kids, and I say to them, come, if you have a question or if you think you should have something different, and I'm assuming you'll do the same thing, come in and let's have a conversation. And then we talk and we look at, okay, where are you at? How do you need to get to be? And I mean, I always called it making a deal. I'll make a deal with you. If you can, by this point, I mean, I've done it too with open campus, with attendance, with things like that, where if you can show me that you can do this, if you're gonna put the time and the energy in, because when you go into IXL, it will show you on the administrative side what they've worked on, how much time they've spent in it. So if they're just clicking through, or if they're AIing it or Googling it, then it shows you kind of those pieces. So I've always been all about making deals with, show me that you're gonna take some time to do it. We actually, I can't give names, but I have specific students that I could name off record for you that we have done that with. And we've done that too with some of our special ed students who, based upon their disability, their ability to make that much growth in a short amount of time to be able to get there is not as high as a student who may not have a disability. They still have to show that growth. We want at least a grade level or more of growth, but we recognize I'm not going to have a student who has an innate inability to not do something to hold them back. So we have been very flexible, and I mean, I don't know about you, but we could add administrative discretion to that one too, because that has been our practice. But I will say, it's gotta be the students that come to me. So the students have to be the ones to advocate for themselves, to have the conversations, and to be able to do that.
And I guess the students I've talked to have given up on open campus because the IXL bar is too high and they don't care about
I would be
IXL.
curious to know if the IXL was the only thing that they were off for,
I mean,
and we could look at that.
We do have a tracker where we have it broken down by column, so we can see what the disqualifying factor is for the different students. So that would be interesting to look at.
I can
Yeah.
pull it up and let you know.
I guess I'll get off the soapbox.
Yeah.
I
No,
feel
that's
your
fine.
passion. I disagree with it. Like, I feel like we're putting this IXL one grade, and we're not saying, I want you to grow, I want you to get smarter. I don't think we're taking our medicine for not teaching these kids middle school math when they were in middle school, but I think we are punishing them for not knowing middle school math in high school. So, like, I just feel like you've taken this thing that was supposed to be an incentive, and you've kind of turned it into a stick instead of a carrot. So,
So
That's
there
my
was not a
opinion.
single junior at mid-year that only had, that IXL was their only reason for not having open campus, not a single one.
Is there a high amount for start of the year? Of
At
who
the
won't
beginning,
qualify?
I mean, I can tell you
Yeah, I
any
gotta
grade
keep those
level.
on it, yeah.
Freshmen all start out with it, and then at that first tracker, that first check is when they get on. Nope.
Is
So
it,
freshman year, 3/4 to 7/8 of our kids had open campus freshman year, all year, like by the end of the year. I only have the middle one open here, so, yeah, not a single freshman either was IXL the only reason they were off. Sophomores,
I can say it now because my kids are all graduated, but my God, I got sick of hearing about IXL at home.
there
But-
was one sophomore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got sick of it.
And I
Yeah.
think it's the messaging, like, how do we teach that
but
it's.
Yeah, but
You're
we're
teaching that
messaging-
it's a consequence.
Yeah, we're
But
messaging,
IXL is not, we had one kid, freshman, sophomore, juniors, I didn't look at the senior, well, seniors don't use IXL. So one student, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, IXL was the only reason they didn't have open campus. One out of the entire high school.
But if it's a reason you can't have open campus, are you paying attention to the other ones? Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
once you
like
get
if I
past-
already
I
am,
know I can't get it, why do I?
then why do I care about the
That's
rest
the
of
conversation
things?
at our
Well,
house
let's
is,
look at- we can look at
it's
how
not even a
many had-
chance, so why care about the rest of it?
Right.
Like,
Right.
IXL doesn't
I
matter,
know
it's
I'm
just a
never getting
It's not
punitive.
what the tracker's showing. I'll take the names off or black them out and I'll show you the tracker. And you can see, like, who had what and why.
I guess
they
that's
were.
my ask is take away, like,
Yeah.
I don't hear anything that you use to describe what IXL is for,
Mm-hmm.
that's not number one. Number one is just punitive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not smart enough to test high enough on whatever, then you don't get open campus.
I
You
think that's
can't-
how
But
they're,
that's,
the
again,
kiddos are
message.
framing it
Yeah,
though,
'cause
right?
it's,
That's how they're.
We want you here so we can work with you
So-
and we can help you.
so there wasn't, so you said that IXL was, there was only one student where IXL was the only reason why. How many students are on IXL
What do you mean?
in the sophomore, junior?
All of them
All
do
of
it.
them.
Everybody.
No, I get that, but how many of them are on it when it gets their junior, this year's junior class, how many were on IXL? Just without the,
Every single one.
No, you mean
Right,
the
the
lowest-
pass.
Closed
Oh,
campus.
who didn't have their score, I have the spring one and they all tanked. Let me pull up the winter one. Hang on.
so that, I mean, I just feel like if they all tanked, that's more, I guess, I don't know.
It's, yeah,
It feels like it's more
because
about,
they don't wanna do it. Like, I'm
I know,
not
but
saying that they want to.
Let's
do it.
find a way to, then, it's not working, right? It's not a carrot anymore, it's just a
But I would
stick.
argue it is for the other underclass, for the other kids, until they don't need it anymore. So it is the carrot, because then they just don't try.
Well, it
and
should
then
be
we
a
don't
carrot
have
for the teachers,
accurate
too.
results.
it should be a carrot for the teachers too. I mean, just,
Yeah,
To
I
get them
think-
agreed.
And we do look at the students from a teacher perspective of, this is how many students are not on grade level for, we'll use math, at freshman math. So what are you doing within your classroom, because there's a skill deficit here, how are you addressing the skill deficit to
Yeah.
help those students be on grade level?
How are you engaging the parents? I think that's the thing, is I just don't feel like that part is working. And maybe you think it is, but I think I don't like it at all.
And are there things the parents can do? Like, is it something the parents can help
Yes.
outside of school
And I've
hours?
sent
Is there an
some.
app or something? Like,
It's in the newsletter, check your students' thing, we send the reports home when we get, after we do the diagnostic. It goes home, paper snail mail, and at the back page, it says, your student is struggling in these areas, please help them with it. You know, you can help them with it if you want to, there's a formal letter that goes with
it's
it.
just the message.
But the
so.
teachers have it too,
I-
you know.
I guess my biggest thing, again, you know that you had to battle that, again, my kids are gone. You had to battle one of my children because she was on it all the time and
I made deals with her.
and, but I would even say you made deals with her, but I don't know. I 100% understand where you're coming from, but she's got a 3.8 grade point average, but she didn't do very good in math too. I mean, I looked at this, you can go back and look at her IXL scores. The things that she wasn't very good at as a freshman, she wasn't good at as a sophomore or junior. I don't think that's not a my child problem. It is, yes, there is some of it that is my child problem, but there's the ownership that should be shared in that.
Yeah, that's where I want the school to come behind, not just to say, this is the consequence if you don't, and IXL has all the tools, you need to use them to self-serve.
Yeah.
Have you
And
talked to
I would be
IXL?
open for additional suggestions for motivators for adolescents to be able to take these diagnostic tests seriously.
Have the people that ran IXL, the people that run IXL, is what your intent you're doing with IXL, is it something they agree with?
That is,
We are using it for its design purpose, yes.
You are, okay.
Like, I think that if what you say is, there should be something about improvement, right? If I'm at a 710 and I go to if I'm a ninth grader at a 710 and I go to 720 and then I go to 730 and then I go, there's something that I'm making up ground. But again, that kid that's 2 years behind, it's gonna take them a year and a half and then you're gonna raise the bar, right? And so it's just, I just don't think those freshmen or sophomore that are behind.
That they're gonna be able to catch up, right?
Yeah,
Because of their,
and they can, they should.
Yeah, but it's a year.
Basic learning theory is that you should have a minimum of 1 year growth every year,
So
minimum.
we should incentivize the growth, not punish the test score.
I think the hardest part on that is how do when you first start it, that works really, really well the first year. After the first year, I'm gonna tank because then I'm gonna show more growth. So how do we get away from, they know that I should tank it if you're just gonna look at growth at the end. So it's that balance of finding.
well, could you be like looking at, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, that was very rude. Okay, but could it be, you're doing the 4 checks throughout the year, whatever, right? Could it be, you have to demonstrate, like, if you are not at one grade level, you have to demonstrate growth
It could
each
be
time?
consistent growth.
And then like, right, like, is
Right.
there a way that you could write that in the verbiage, that
I
the
would
student
say
is
something
consistently demonstrating growth?
Something that's difficult for us is that each time they do a diagnostic test, it's anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes out of class time. And so if we continue to do diagnostic after diagnostic, how are we still providing them the instruction that they need? So it's a balance between how many times are we gonna take class time away to do a diagnostic with, if we could do a diagnostic on a regular basis, right, then we could track that growth. And if you show growth and then you maintain your growth, maybe then you get open campus, right? But it's how many times can we feasibly put that chunk of time within our school year while still also teaching all of the content that we need to teach. So that's a balance that we've been trying to work on too, is what's that right amount?
That makes sense. Like I said, that makes a lot of sense. I agree with what you guys are saying. Gosh, it's hard. The student is excelling in their current position in the 11th grade, but yet we're punishing them because they weren't excelling in the 9th grade or in the 10th grade on whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like the passion you have for it doesn't feel like that's how it's written. There's no documentation
messaging.
about growth. You kind of said you were so excited to move from 2 years to 1 year. I'd say you shouldn't have been. Like, I don't think we were ready to move from 2 years to 1 year.
And I do think last year
We went to a year.
it was a year and a half, because when those first ones came through, we're like, this is too ambitious. So I didn't change that part, and maybe that was an oversight. Maybe I should have left, maybe I should put it at a year and a half, because that was our current practice last year.
I think if it matches current practice, that might at least feel like a carrot they can get to.
Yeah, this is just one, again, I have 2 upcoming high schoolers, all their friends talk about this, and it's a joke. It's not anything positive. It's it's all negative. I've talked to other parents. Yeah, there's something that I don't think is meeting the spirit, the intent. So,
I
I'll
wonder
just
how
let you
much
take
of it
it.
is the message.
I would say that's the majority of people, that are on it. Again, it's.
Yeah, yeah, there's no GPA required, again, that kills me. Okay. Any other questions on, I lost my agenda, student handbooks?
Thank you for catching that. I've updated to match the current policy.
Nice.
Thank you.
And then,
I would suggest taking separate motions on those with the suggested changes.
okay. So, then we will move back to the elementary school policy. I'll take a motion with the recommendation to update the cell phone policy. Do you want to just highlight what you updated?
The personal communication devices policy. To match, so I'm matching the district policy with the student handbook.
Okay.
What was that called?
Personal communication devices.
All right, well, given that change, I'll take a motion to approve the elementary school handbook.
I'll make a motion to approve the elementary school handbook.
Motion by Guy, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye. Aye. All those opposed. All right, and then on the high school handbook, I'm trying to remember the changes, so I think, it was to strike the graduation day requirement, strike the senior field trip requirement from the attendance. Are we gonna do anything about this IXL 1 year?
I would feel comfortable if we go at 1.5, because that was our practice last year. And I think it's a nice, maybe a compromise from what you guys are voicing and you're hearing from your own children into what our ideal world might be.
Okay.
But hold on, Jeff, if you guys been talking to a lot of parents and 1.5 was, let's say, disappointing,
I would say the biggest disappointment is that they're being punished off of it. I would say that it's not so much the 1.5 years, it's that there's a punishment that they can't leave the school at lunch because they have something that they're trying to work on that's from,
a couple of years ago, potentially.
Yeah, potentially. That's the biggest thing, being punished for something while still maintaining a good grade point average. Now, if you had a low IXL score and your grade point average was a 2.0, well then we maybe got something. But if you've got a 3.6 or 3.8 GPA and your IXL score from 2 years ago is bad, I think there's gotta be a little bit of,
But that also is where your state testing comes in. So we do look at their state testing scores every 100 years.
right, no, right, but you're not using state
they're-
test, but you're not using that for whether they can have open campus or not.
If their IXL scores are low and they're like, I really think that I'm better than this, I'm a really bad test taker, then we go and we pull up their forward or their pre-ACT scores, and if they were on grade level in English and math and the pre-ACT, we will take out that IXL requirement and just count their pre-ACT score instead. Because they demonstrated in another setting that they were on grade level in that content area.
Can I just ask, do you have that happen often? Because I feel like if you're bad at taking your IXL,
I would
you're
say
probably
maybe
bad at your forward,
5.
right? Like
I would say a
test is
handful of
test.
Yeah.
times.
So the number one qualification, do you just want to X that or maybe add with a GPA with it?
I struggle with the GPA because that's not telling us whether or not they're at grade level. And so our goal, per the state, is to ensure that through our testing, all of our students can show that they are proficient at their grade level. So if we go off of their GPA, we're not showing that they are necessarily proficient per the state on the things that we are being judged.
How do they pass the class if
So
they're
yeah,
not
how do they
proficient?
have a high GPA?
Well, so you have PE, you have band, you have tech ed, you have social studies, whereas IXL is purely looking at English and math.
But how do you pass math if you're not proficient in math
Because they might
sophomore
not
year?
be testing you on those skills that were from previous years, like Nate was saying.
So now,
But how do you pass it in 10th grade if you're a junior now or
We might
freshman?
pass it with a D, and you passed, but that didn't mean you were proficient.
D is it grade level?
No.
No. You have students passing classes that are not proficient in that grade, or in that content
yeah,
area.
so right, so they're passing classes that they're not proficient in?
You would have to get a proficient grade, which is a B.
Which is a B.
It's the rigor.
I know we're beating a dead horse.
Agreed, and as you can tell, like, I'm passionate about it, Jeff's passionate about it. At the end of the day, we follow your guidelines, how you want to, but this is also one of those times that I ask that you trust us to be able to do what we feel is best, to encourage our students to try their hardest on the assessments that we give them.
So you go to other districts for, you look at other districts as far as like policies are concerned. What are other districts doing with IXL?
I don't know the answer to that. I can speak when I was in Beaver Dam, their open campus, we didn't have IXL there. Their open campus was specifically linked to test scores and attendance.
I think that's a question I would ask. Is anybody else punishing students for having poor IXL? Because Fall River is, right?
I disagree with you. I think we are encouraging them to be here in our building to get help with the professionals who are here in our building. I mean, in all honesty, I don't particularly care for open campus as it is in general. But I think we have to look at, right now, like, it's the messaging and it's the viewpoint, you know, how we are viewing it. I am viewing it as, we are incentivizing you to do your best on this test versus not caring because you don't have that outside carrot, which is adolescent development. They need to have some sort of external thing to motivate them to do something. And my fear is that if we take this away, we will find that we're not going to be getting relevant data on our diagnostics when we take them. And then we lose that teaching tool that our parents and our teachers have to find out what areas are our kids struggling in. So if you look at their tests, it gives us that data of they can do X, Y, and Z, but they can't do A, B, and C. Now, is that factor still in there of the clicking through and I don't care? Absolutely. But we have, you know, teachers in there monitoring them. They talk about it. We're always going to have those handful of kids who are just, it's not going to be a motivator. But if we look at if I look at the names of the students who were not in there and who were off for absences, I would argue that our data doesn't show that that's the reason they're not coming to school or they're failing classes, because they're not gonna fail a class because they're not doing well on IXL. I don't, with the data in front of me and looking at the students and the other areas that they are in need, my recommendation is we keep our kids in school as often as we can so that they can be getting the help to grow from our experts who are here during the school day.
So I'm okay with a grade and a half.
And I'm okay with the 2 and adding the administrative piece, but we have to have some carrot.
I completely agree, but I want to talk about, like, I want the next topic to be, here's what I'm doing about the kids that are because it feels like we're punting it to IXL. IXL tells you what to do. The teachers have it.
That there, with some staffing changes and scheduling changes that we've made this year, we are going to see a big push in interventions for our math students. Primarily at the middle school, but we did not avoid the high school. We've added additional resource time for, I would say, double the amount of kids than we had last year. And we're now using an English teacher to provide some resource and a new math teacher to provide some resource, so that will be new this year.
No, well, the math teacher and the English teacher were doing it last year. Oh, you're saying for high school?
For high school, yes.
So the math intervention was there for high school this past year, but we're adding the ELA.
So I do think that we're in the right direction and that we are really looking at our data in order to drive where are we putting students, not during WIN or study hall, but to help them recoup those skills that they are missing. And we've put it in our schedule now to double how many high school students than we did last year. And compared to math, we'll be able to do a significant amount for middle schoolers this coming school year than we did last year.
Okay. So where do we go from here? What's the recommendation? What would we like to see?
Well, I think we were kind of agreeing, right, that if it was back at the 1.5, and there was like an addition of with administrative discretion, like some kind of line like that, so that it at least leaves room for the deals.
Yep.
Right?
I'm good with that.
Yep, I'm good there.
Do you need as part of the motion the carving out of the course selection from the rest of the
I
handbook?
think you could say with just the discussed changes that we had.
Yep. So we got the, and just to be clear, so we've got the 1.5 with discretion on page 10, and the graduation, we're striking the senior trip day. We're also adding in the senior graduation, the ability to kind of, again,
Yep.
administration discretion or, you know, to
Absolutely,
get
all
on
of
the
those
plan.
things noted here.
Okay.
And once I get once I clean it up, I'll send you a final version too after it might be approved, but you'll just be able to have eyes on the final version.
Okay. So with that, I will take a motion to approve the middle school, high school, student handbook with those three major changes.
I will make a motion to approve the middle school, high school handbook with the approved changes.
We have a motion by Kelly. Do I have a second?
I'll second Jeff.
Seconded by Ken. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right. Back on track. Aye. Nutrition contract.
Yeah, so every year, we fill out a contract with school, on our school nutrition program. Included in that contract are the prices for our meals for the year. DPI basically tells us that if we have a positive fund balance in our food service Fund 50 account, we are not required to increase our prices. However, they do give us the discretion to do so. The past couple of years, we've increased it just by 10 cents for each meal, just to have, just kind of gradually increase those prices instead of 1 year, okay, now all of a sudden they are requiring us to raise them to this price. So for now, that's what we planned on doing this year, just increase those prices by 10 cents each. I know that our food service balance is being spent down. That was required by DPI for us to do. So in the next couple of years here, we may be required to increase our prices to start bringing that fund balance back up. Or we may want to, even if we're not required, we may want to just to be safe. The board approved a couple years ago to cover the expenses for our reduced families. So that is the plan going forward for this year, as long as the board still agrees with that.
Yep. I'm good with that. Any questions for Andrew? All right, I will take a motion to approve the 26-27 school nutrition contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the 26-27 school nutrition contract.
We have a motion by Nate. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed.
So the prices on that sheet in front of you will be the current prices then for this upcoming year.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to line of credit, revolving line of credit with FMUB.
You've got a number of pages here for a line of credit for Farm Merchants Union Bank. Every year we get a short-term borrowing from them, and we try to change how the borrowing gets done this year so that we pay as little interest as possible. It's a sweeping each day. This will help us get through. We're waiting for tax money and state aid to come through. We're asking to have up to $800,000 line of credit with the bank.
That is an increase from the last couple of years where we've had it at 500,000. We had a couple of really tight spots this year so we're just playing it safe by increasing it to the 800,000.
All right.
Any further questions on this one? And Ken, do you have a signature card? In your
I got a
file?
whole bunch of them back there. Yeah, you and Guy have to sign afterwards.
Okay, so I will take a motion
This is the official one, though.
to approve the revolving line of credit with Farmers and Merchants
She just
Union
gave me
Bank.
the head nod.
I'll make a motion to approve the line of credit with farmers and merchants.
We have a motion by Kelly, seconded by Nate. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, budget.
This sheet, this is a budget adoption summary. I always give you a 5-year snapshot of what the trends have been, so you can kind of see where they are. For revenue limit, which is based on money we spent in the past year, but also the 3-year average of pupil count. And if you look at the bottom row, the first 3 years average compared to the last 3 average is significantly different, and that's why you have some trends in the revenue limits. You'll see the jump in 24-25 when we passed the referendum. Otherwise, it's been fairly steady the last 2 years, a little bit up or a little bit down, but that's, again, mostly on the pupil count. And this pupil count is not the kids in the building, this is the kids who live in the district, regardless of where they go to school. We've made up a lot of what that declining enrollment is by open enrollment increases and open enrollment out decreases. So that's made up for some of this. State aid, you can see the kind of the trend there. Fund 10 levy, we actually would have a slightly decrease in Fund 10 levy because there's a slight decrease in revenue limits. You see all fund tax levy, of course, there's the jump back in 24-25. We're looking at all fund tax levies similar to last year's at 5.8% this year. Property value went up 4.7 last year, so we're estimating 4.5 this year. And 2 years ago, after the referendum passed, we went to $8.18 per $100,000 of value. And last year, this past year, was 8.28. We're looking at possibly 8.38 this next year. So we're looking at a 10 cents increase in mill rate last year and this coming year again also. That is all summarized from the number of pages you have of the actual budget. The first sheet of the actual budget is the fund balance on top. Then it goes through all the different sources of income for the last 2 years. The first column is audited from 2 years ago. The budget column in the middle, the audit is set for, I believe, in July this year. Then after that, they'll be able to take that middle column and get the actual numbers and then the budget on the right. By the time you get to the middle of the second page, you'll see with the total revenues, and then the expenditures are the bottom half of that. For the total expenditures, that first 2 pages are all Fund 10. Third page, Fund 27. Of course, there's no fund balance in Fund 27. We also have to have a fund transfer to make that whole. Then when you get to the third page, you finish the Fund 27 and then you move to Funds 38 and 39, our debt service. And last page, you've got food service and the Community Service Fund 80. This is our expectation at this time. In October, when you get state aid and pupil count, this will change, but this is our best estimate right now of what we see that the budget will be for next year, so they can have that in Skyward and start operating for this next year.
Very good. Any questions for Dennis on the 26-27 budget?
No.
Then I will take a motion to adopt the 26-27 preliminary budget.
I'll make the motion to adopt the 26-27 preliminary budget.
Motion by Nate, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead, Guy.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. I think we talked quite a bit about Neola policies. We're at our first reading. Anything else we wanted to say?
No, I think we covered all the major highlights for the policies.
All right, well, with that, I will take a motion to accept the first reading of Act 57 and Act 89 Neola policies.
I'll make a motion to accept the first reading of Act 57 and Act 89 of the Neola policies.
Motion by Guy, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Kelly. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Moving on to staffing.
Sorry, I was looking at my email. Okay, Troy Ryan is going to be joining us as our library media specialist. He comes to us as a retiree who is back working less than 60% in a neighboring district. So he spent 24 years in the Dells, started as an English teacher and then moved into their library media specialist. He retired 3 years ago. And then for the last 3 years, he's worked in Randolph 3 days a week as their LMC specialist, and he also teaches classes there. And for the last 2 years, he has been doing for Oakfield what we are gonna have him do here, which is 10 days in our building for the year in order to help us spend our common school funds, as well as provide support to the paraprofessionals who provide the lessons to our 4K, kindergarten, and first grade classes here in the library. So we are excited for him to join us. He had some really great ideas in his interview that I think Lori and Kelsey were already a fan of, so I'm excited to have him join our team.
All right, any questions on Mr. Ryan? All right, with that, I will take a motion to approve the hiring of Troy Ryan as library media specialist.
Troy Ryan, you got the job, you're approved.
Motion by Nate, do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded
Sorry.
by Kelly.
That's fine, Kelly.
All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed. All right, we will move on to principal reports.
All right, I'll get us started. In the month of June here, I've been finishing up, writing up, doing all my staff evaluations, getting all those squared away, getting those 2 staff. That process helps me kind of see all the work they've done throughout the year. And it really just helps solidify like the hard work we do and the stuff that we're asking them to do, and that it's making a difference. So whether it's, one of the best things I think recently that we've done as I read them was we're having them go in and observe other teachers, their colleagues, not for what they're doing, but what they can learn from each other. And when they write that up within their EE process, that for me is a really gratifying piece of seeing how they're learning from one another and how they're growing as a teacher as a result of that. So I think that's been a really good thing that we've added as part of our evaluation process. On the special ed end, I've been wrapping up a lot of the stuff that you guys will never see, hopefully, in the background of our IEP system. It's called SEEDS. So I've, for example, all IEPs initials have 60-day windows to get all the paperwork done, and you have to hit those timelines. So I reviewed all of our IEPs, make sure we did not have any discrepancies there, so that when we go through an audit, that we don't get dinged on that. Carrie Lee helped me with that, but also just took that time to go through all those. Also renewed our SEEDS contract for next school year for $2,000, which is a good price for holding all of our IEPs, and it's the place where I do a lot of my work. That cost is based on how many students that we are servicing here in our district. Summer school's been going really well. We're finishing up on Friday here, session 1, and then session 2 will start on the 27th, I want to say, of July. So Carrie Lee made a comment the first day. I think everybody was a little nervous with all the construction going on, the office being completely moved. She's in the hallway now in the middle school with Sue, and she's like, wow, she was astonished how smooth day 1 actually went. So I think that goes to a lot of the planning and preparation that we did throughout the spring. I worked with a big team. I want to just thank the team that I worked with, Miss Lee, Miss Benz, Mr. Hartman, Mr. Anderson, Mrs. Liebenthal, Mrs. Schultz, and just getting all of that kind of organized, prepared, and ready to go. So thank you to everyone who helped. I also want to thank Mr. Seichter and his team and the kids for making the signs out front, so people know where to do deliveries and people know where to drop their kids off. It was kind of short notice for them, but I think they did a really great job of it, and we haven't had any issues as a result, other than the 2 days of storms. So that is my report. Any questions for me? All right, thank you.
All right. So believe it or not, I've spent I was gone last week, but with updating handbooks. That's kind of been the topic, and getting multiple eyes on those things, because you catch a lot of stuff when multiple people see it. Obviously, I didn't even see that my name wasn't in there. So I would say after the end of the school year, a lot of my time has been spent kind of thinking about that and how do we put the processes in place. Because when we make a change in the handbook, there has to be the follow-up process of how we're going to implement that. So that's kind of been what I've been spending a fair amount of time on. The end of the year was very successful. I will say it felt a little rushed with that, the date a little bit sooner than all of us, and I think it kind of crept up, but it was a good end of the year, and everybody, I think, had a successful ending, so I was really happy with how the year ended. Educator effectiveness, finished up with all my end of year meetings and summaries for teachers, looking at their PPGs and SLOs, so I kind of have all that paperwork done. Big shout out to Mrs. Benz and Mr. Crombie. With Mrs. Liebenthal's retirement, they have picked up some slack when it comes to transcripts, posting grades to IC, making sure our transcripts are getting sent out now, are they in the correct place, and filing and all that system. So thank you to them for helping ensure that we're getting all that taken care of here in the month of June. And then lastly, I've spent some time doing school tours and coordinating schedules for new incoming high school students. So they weren't here during our scheduling process during the school year, so we've been talking with some families on how to get schedules going for new students that will be here in the fall. So that's kind of exciting. That's all I got.
Awesome. So I just want to give a quick shout out, just one this month and then again next month and then in August. We do have our Dash and Discover date planned for August 22nd. So that's our community event that we are doing in partnership. Last year was our first year with the chamber, the village, the school, the foundation had a little part of it. Is there anybody I'm missing? I hope I'm not missing anybody. But we spent a great deal of time talking through updating schedules. What did we learn from last year that we want to do differently? So mark your calendars now for August 22nd, please, for the Dash and Discover. I've been spending a lot of time just working with Brian on referendum projects and summer cleaning and maintenance and building projects, and so I want to give my shout out to him and his team. We also got together, Andrea and I met with Brian, and we got a job description done for an assistant business or buildings and grounds, a director of buildings and grounds assistant. And so we have that posted. We've had several people already reach out inquiring about the position, what it looks like, what the expectation is. So we should have, my plan is to bring to you at the next board meeting a candidate that we have interviewed, reference checked, and would like to hire on to fill that position. But his team has been working really hard every day, all hours of the day, to make sure that we're trying to stay on top of and getting all of the things done that are a part of our regular maintenance and then all of our additional projects. Did a bunch of budget work with Dennis, Andrea, and Colleen, so that was always fun and interesting, and Andrea and I have been spending a lot of time going through where are we at, where do we want to be, how do we get there, and all of that within the means that we have to be able to get there. So we are being very cognizant and being stewards of the monies that are entrusted with us to be able to keep our building running and educating our kids. This past week, we had it's called WIMLS. You hear me talk about that a lot. That is our system that we have in place to be able to catch our students academically who are not doing well with their interventions, as well as behaviorally with behavior interventions. And Krista mentioned earlier the PBIS team helping with that. So we spent an entire day with our teachers and instructional coach, invited one of our new teachers, Bruce Hahn, our new math teacher, in to join us. So that's been a great deal of time. And we're going to use that and continue in about 2 weeks, I think, with our strategic planning for the upcoming year. I'm also looking at the possibility of working with CISA to do a large-scale strategic plan, looking at utilizing them so that I can participate as the district administrator versus facilitating the conversations with you all, teachers, families, community members, business members, to be able to look at, how do we get rolling with all of those things that people are expecting and wanting out of us as a district. And with that being said, I also want to thank all of our parents who have completed the school climate survey that I sent out to all of the families. I sent it out last Thursday. That survey will close on Friday. As of this evening, we had 72 total responses, which I was extremely happy with. And they are across 4K all the way through 12, and we're getting a lot of good feedback that we will use when we do our strategic planning in a couple weeks to look at what are our parents telling us that we're doing well, what are our parents telling us that we need to get better at, and then how do we put that into a plan going forward. So super excited about that and that continuing with that work as we move through the summer. That's all I got.
On the budget with Dennis, just to become really comfortable where we're at with that. So we've been spending a lot of time doing that. We're finalizing benefits for next year. Today we had an open enrollment presentation where USI came in and spoke with our staff about the changes in our health insurance. Being that it was held over the summer, it was actually pretty well attended. I was happy with how many staff members were there, and they had some really good questions and got clarification about how the new HRA part of the insurance will work. Mostly, I just want to thank Dennis for his time at the district. He has been a great mentor to me, and I've really enjoyed my time working with him. So thank you.
You're welcome. I guess I'm next. I wrote a little note to you all there. It's in my superintendent's report. At the end of my time in Fall River, I'm reflecting on the progress we've made in the staff, school culture, academics, passing referendums, and completing construction projects. I will continue to support the district from afar, at least 4 blocks. Thanks for all those who have been such a positive force in the district, help make it a school district choice for many students, parents, and families. I've always talked to the administrative team about you leave a place better than you found it. And I feel like that's happened here. And I charge to all of you, board members and staff here, that when you leave it, it should be better than it is now. So it's here right now. When you plan on leaving, when you're done, it's got to be there. Everyone leaves it better than when they left it. And I think the people in this room can make that happen. It'll continue to grow and continue to get better. So thank you. 6 years went fairly fast. I know the board that hired me. What do you say?
Almost as fast as this board meeting.
Almost as fast as this board meeting. This is the longest board meeting you've ever
My
been a
last
part of.
one has to be forever. It's gonna go into the Wednesdays to Thursdays. Stick around for the tour of the building and the projects.
And we need to take a board picture tonight and sign some documents, so
Thank you,
don't run away.
Dennis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of the board, thank you for all you're doing. I really appreciate it. All right, any further questions? All right, well then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll take a motion to adjourn, Jeff.
Motion by Ken, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Guy. All those in favor, vote aye.
That's the
Aye.
revolving line of credit.
8:37.
Okay. Are we